Good morning, my beloved friend. The world is just beginning to stir. The horizon glows with the first breath of dawn, painting the sky in shades of gold and gentle rose. The air is cool. The streets are hushed, and creation itself seems to pause, waiting for something sacred to unfold. In this tender hour before the world grows loud, your heart is being invited to something deeper than routine. You have not stumbled here by accident. The morning itself is a message from heaven whispering that mercy has returned again with the sunrise. Perhaps you wake today with a heart that feels heavy. Maybe sleep was restless, filled with the echoes of yesterday's worries. A loved one's absence still stings. A diagnosis lingers in your thoughts. The bills stack higher than the hope you feel you can muster. Or maybe it is not one great tragedy, but 1,000 small weights pressing quietly on your chest, the fear of another ordinary day. Without direction, you are not alone in this weariness. Across the world, countless hearts rise under the same sky, carrying hidden pain while trying to smile through it. Some stand beside hospital beds. Some sit in empty kitchens. Some scroll through messages hoping for comfort that never quite comes. Pain has many shapes, but its silence feels the same. Yet even here, in this fragile place between night and day, a holy invitation waits. Morning is God's gentle way of saying, start again. The darkness does not have the final word. Light always returns. And so this hour becomes the doorway to a different kind of strength, not the strength that demands control, but the kind that begins with surrender. When everything else feels uncertain, there is still one thing you can do with absolute purpose. Lift your eyes. Breathe deeply and begin with prayer. Prayer is not a ritual for the righteous. It is a refuge for the real. It is where bruised hearts find breath again. It is where fear loosens its grip and faith begins to speak louder. Each whispered word, each quiet sigh, is a step out of chaos into communion. Prayer transforms the ordinary into sacred ground. The kitchen table becomes an altar. The morning light becomes a reminder that grace is awake before you are. This journey of prayer is not about escaping life, but meeting it differently. It is learning to see through the eyes of faith instead of fear, to thank instead of complain, to trust instead of grasp. The world teaches us to begin our day with plans and productivity, but heaven teaches us to begin with presence. Before you answer messages, before you chase deadlines, before the weight of expectation returns, there is something far more powerful waiting for you: stillness in the presence of God. In that stillness, you will remember who you are, not the sum of your worries, not the shadow of your past, but a soul deeply loved and endlessly held. Faith will begin to rise, not as noise, but as a quiet certainty that you are seen, known, and guided. The path ahead may still win through valleys, but you will no longer walk them alone. So, my beloved friend, let this morning be the turning of a page. Lay down the noise and lean into this silence. Allow your heart to open again, even if it trembles. You do not need perfect words, only a willing spirit. This is the sacred threshold where hope is reborn and peace finds its home. Now, take a deep breath. Listen to the stillness around you. The dawn is here. It is time to begin the conversation your soul has been waiting for. Dear Heavenly Father, as the light begins to spill gently across the horizon, I come before you with the quiet ache that wakes with me. The world feels heavy, and my heart carries more questions than answers. The dawn touches the edge of the sky, yet inside me, shadows still linger. I do not come pretending strength I do not have. I come because I need you more than I need understanding. I come because even when I cannot see the path clearly, I know the one who holds the map. The morning feels fragile, like a soft breath after a storm. And I want this moment to be holy. I want this to be where gratitude begins, even if it trembles when it speaks. You know the nights that feel endless. You know the tears that never make it past my pillow. You know the thoughts that wander through dark corners when sleep refuses to come. And still, here I am, breathing again, because mercy has not run out. You watched over me in the night, when I did not even have the strength to pray. You kept the rhythm of my heart steady when fear tried to steal its pace. You brought me through another storm I thought would break me. And now, at the edge of this new day, I want my first words to be thank you, not because life is easy, but because you are still here. Thank you for breath in my lungs, for light returning to the sky, for the simple grace of waking. Thank you for every unseen protection that kept me safe. Thank you for every answered prayer I did not notice, and for every unanswered one that is still shaping me. Thank you for the sunrise that whispers that beginnings are still possible. I do not take this for granted. Gratitude feels small compared to the weight of your goodness, but I offer it anyway. I will start here with this single act of praise, trusting that even the faintest thank you can shift the atmosphere around me. Father, I confess that some mornings I wake more afraid than thankful. The future stretches before me like a fog, and my courage feels thin. I worry about what waits beyond this day. I worry about the people I love, about what I cannot fix or control. Yet I know that worry has never held the power to save me. Only trust does. Teach my heart to rest before I run, to listen before I speak, to lean into your presence before I face the noise of the world. Help me remember that peace is not found in perfect circumstances, but in your nearness. When fear rises, remind me that you have already walked ahead of me. When doubt whispers that nothing will change, let me see the quiet ways you are still at work. When I am tempted to give up, remind me that gratitude is not denial but defiance. It is the choice to say, even here, even now, you are still good. I want to live with that kind of courage, the kind that chooses thanks when comfort is gone. Let this be the song that starts my morning, a song of gratitude born not from ease, but from endurance. I lift before you every burden I have tried to carry alone. The weight of expectations, the regrets that still sting, the decisions that feel uncertain. You see the things I never speak aloud, the silent struggles behind every smile. I bring them all to you now, not to complain but to surrender. I am tired of pretending I can handle everything. I am tired of running on my own strength. I want to begin this day anchored, not anxious. Let your peace guard my heart like a shield. Let your voice be louder than my fears. Let your love steady me when I feel scattered. Father, I ask that you fill this morning with your presence. Before I reach for my phone, before the noise begins, before I step into the demands of the day, help me pause and breathe you in. Teach me to make room for stillness. Let this stillness not be emptiness, but the place where I remember who you are. Let me find you in the birdsong outside, in the soft glow of the sky, in the quiet rhythm of my breath. Every ordinary thing becomes sacred when I see it with grateful eyes. If I face conflict today, remind me that I can choose peace. If I encounter criticism, remind me that my worth is not fragile. If the path feels steep, remind me that every step with you is strength gained. Not lost. I do not ask for a day without challenge. I ask for grace to meet it with faith. Let me walk with the calm assurance that you are already in every moment waiting for me. When I stumble, let gratitude lift me. When I succeed, let humility ground me. When I am uncertain, let trust lead me forward. Father, this morning I choose to begin differently. I choose to pray before I plan, to listen before I rush, to thank before I ask. I choose to remember that every heartbeat is borrowed grace. Gratitude is not something I feel only when everything works out. It is the decision to notice your goodness even when the day begins in weakness. Help me to speak this language of thanks until it becomes the rhythm of my soul. I may not know what this day will bring, but I know who brings the day. The same hands that shaped the sunrise hold my life. The same love that hung the stars in place calls me by name. The same voice that calmed the sea speaks peace into my storms. I will not let the weight of uncertainty silence my praise. Gratitude will be my declaration of faith. It will not be shallow or convenient. It will be the seed I plant in this morning's soil, trusting that it will grow into strength by nightfall. Father, as I step into this day, let my heart stay soft and my spirit steady. Let every thought, every breath, every word become an offering of thanks. Let my gratitude be louder than complaint, deeper than fear, and stronger than despair. This morning belongs to you. My life belongs to you. And even in the valley, I will begin with praise. Lord, as the morning unfolds and the light stretches further across the earth, my heart feels the quiet pull to let go of what I have been holding too tightly. Yesterday's thoughts linger like dust in the corners of my mind, whispering what I should have done, what I could have changed. But today, I want to begin differently. I want to start not by striving, but by surrendering. You see every corner of my heart, every knot I have tied in worry, every secret weight I have carried without even realizing it. You know the moments I have smiled while trembling inside, the times I have pushed forward when I should have fallen at your feet. And so here I am again, in this soft light, choosing to release what I was never meant to bear alone. Father, teach me what it truly means to rest. Not the kind of rest that comes from sleep, but the deeper rest that lives in the soul, the peace that whispers that I do not have to earn your favor. The world tells me to keep running, to fix, to prove, to accomplish, but you invite me to breathe. I do not want to spend another day pretending to be strong when I am weary. I want to be honest before you. I want to tell you that my heart is tired, My thoughts are loud, and sometimes I cannot tell the difference between faith and exhaustion. But I believe you meet me even here, in the trembling honesty of this moment. So I bring you the burdens that have followed me into this morning, the expectations I have set too high for myself, the disappointments that I have buried beneath business, the guilt that clings like fog. I lay them down before you one by one. The memory that still stings, the failure that still whispers that I am not enough, the relationships that weigh heavy with misunderstanding. I cannot carry them all and still lift my hands in praise. Teach me that surrender is not weakness, but wisdom. It is the strength of trust that says, "You can handle what I cannot." God, I release to you the pain I have held too close, the kind that has shaped how I see myself. I have let shame speak louder than grace, but not today. Today, I want to trade shame for peace, regret for gratitude, control for trust. You are not waiting for me to be perfect. You are waiting for me to be still. You are not looking for a flawless offering, only a surrendered heart. So here it is, fragile, tired, but open. I place it in your hands because I believe your hands are steady when mine shake. Father, help me forgive where I have been holding on to resentment. Some wounds feel too deep, and some words still echo when I least expect them. But I know that bitterness poisons slowly, and forgiveness frees instantly. Teach me how to release others the way you release me completely, without condition. Let forgiveness become the quiet revolution of my morning, the choice that loosens every chain inside me. And while I am learning to forgive others, help me also forgive myself for the things I cannot redo. Let mercy rewrite the story of my failures with the ink of grace. When I feel tempted to reach back for the burdens I have just laid down, remind me that freedom requires trust. Remind me that you are already working behind what I cannot see. I do not need to manage what you have already promised to handle. I want to learn how to walk lightly, to move through this day unburdened and unafraid. Replace every anxious thought with a breath of peace. Replace self-doubt with the quiet assurance that you are enough for both of us, enough for my weakness, enough for my need, enough for the moments I fall short again. Lord, show me the beauty of release. Show me how surrender makes space for joy. When I let go, I make room for you. I make room for hope that has been crowded out by control. I make room for laughter that sorrow had silenced. I make room for the unexpected peace that comes when I stop gripping so tightly to what hurts. I want to live today with open hands, ready to receive whatever you choose to give, ready to release whatever you ask me to lay down. Let gratitude rise again, not as an emotion, but as the natural response of a freed heart. Thank you for reminding me that I do not have to perform to be loved. I do not have to prove that I am worthy of grace. You loved me first, and you love me still, even in my scattered thoughts and imperfect prayers. You meet me with patience. You whisper that I am safe to be real, that you prefer honesty over eloquence, surrender over strength. Let me feel that truth in my bones today. Let it shape the way I speak, the way I walk, the way I see others. I know there will be moments ahead when the burdens try to return. Help me recognize them quickly, to hand them back before they settle in again. Let me walk through this day as someone who has already chosen release. If I start to carry more than I should, remind me to pause and breathe your name. Let my breath become prayer, my stillness become worship, and when night falls, let me look back on this day not as one I survived, but one I lived freely. God, you are the keeper of my peace and the lifter of my head. You see the small, trembling steps of surrender, and you call them faith. You take the little I can give and turn it into something whole. So I will trust you with what I cannot change. I will thank you for the things that used to terrify me, knowing they became the very places I learned your strength. And as this day unfolds, I will remember that my hands are lighter, my heart is softer, and my soul is finally beginning to rest. Father, in the stillness that follows surrender, I begin to notice how quiet blessings surround me. The air feels lighter, and though my hands are empty, my heart is no longer trembling from the weight of what I released. It is strange how peace often comes not when I gain something new, but when I stop clinging to what I thought I needed. I sit here in the hush of morning and realize that you are teaching me to find fullness in the simplest of things. The world around me rushes to chase more and more comfort, more security, more success, but here in your presence, I find that less is enough. Even in places that feel barren, you prepare a table. Even when the path winds through wilderness, you spread peace like bread before me. Lord, teach me to be content in this quiet space between what I hope for and what I have. I used to think contentment meant settling, but now I see it as trust in motion. It is the art of breathing where I am, believing that you have not forgotten me. There are moments when life feels like a wilderness vast, uncertain, and painfully slow. Yet even here, your provision glimmers like dew on the ground. You send small mercies disguised as ordinary moments, a smile from a stranger, a song that arrives at the right time, a bit of strength I did not know I still carried. These are not coincidences. They are reminders that you are near. You have not left me hungry. You are simply teaching me to taste your goodness in new ways. God, I confess that my heart often longs for abundance while overlooking the quiet feast you have already set. I measure blessings by what I can hold instead of by the peace that holds me. Help me to shift my vision. Let me see that contentment is not complacency, but a deep awareness that nothing essential is missing. When I have you, when I feel the ache of longing, let it lead me not to frustration but to worship. Let it be the hunger that drives me deeper into your presence, where true satisfaction is found. I do not want to chase what fades. I want to rest in what lasts. There are mornings when the wilderness stretches endlessly, and I cannot see the next step. The sky feels too wide, the silence too loud, and uncertainty seems to echo against the walls of my heart. But even there, you whisper that this place is not a punishment. It is preparation. The wilderness is not empty, it is holy ground where dependence grows. You are training my eyes to see manna where others see scarcity, to find grace in the middle of the unknown. Teach me that I do not need to understand everything, to trust you completely. Help me to gather today's portion without fear for tomorrow's lack. Father, let me live this day with open hands. I do not want to clutch at blessings as though they might vanish, I want to hold them lightly, knowing they are gifts, not guarantees. Help me to celebrate what I have without envying what I do not. Let gratitude become the language I speak most easily. I want to notice the beauty hidden in small things, the warmth of sunlight on my face, the rhythm of my own heartbeat, the laughter of someone I love. Each of these is proof that I am cared for. Even when the table looks simple, it overflows with grace because you are seated with me. Lord, in moments when my soul grows restless, remind me that peace is not found in abundance, but in awareness. It is possible to stand in a dry land and still sing. It is possible to have little and yet lack nothing. Let me carry that truth into every part of this day. When I walk into noise, let quiet contentment stay rooted within me. When the world measures success by gain, let me measure it by gratitude. When I am tempted to compare my life to another's, help me remember that my story is written by a faithful hand that never repeats itself. I do not need what belongs to someone else. I need only what you have chosen for me. God, I thank you that contentment is not passive. It is strength wrapped in stillness. It is the courage to say, "This moment is enough." Teach me to live as someone who trusts that the shepherd knows the pastures better than the sheep. I want to stop reaching for what has not yet come and start cherishing the miracle of now. I want to walk through this day as one who eats from the table you have prepared instead of chasing what others are serving. I want to look at each challenge and say, even here, there is bread. Father, help me to turn my focus from what I lack to who you are. When I count my blessings, let me include the unseen ones, the strength to endure, the patience that grows quietly, the lessons that form character while I wait. When I feel delayed, remind me that you are never late. You are deliberate. Your timing is the rhythm of love, not the rush of fear. Help me to settle into that rhythm today, to move with grace instead of anxiety. Let my pace be steady, my heart unhurried, and my thoughts anchored in thankfulness. As the sun climbs higher, I sense how easy it is to lose this peace once the world awakens. Responsibilities call. Voices demand, and the wilderness gives way to noise. But even then, the table remains. Even in chaos, your presence lingers like fragrance in the air. Let me return to it again and again, whispering gratitude in the middle of the rush. Let my spirit feast on your goodness until worry grows too small to follow me. Teach me that every breath can be prayer and every task can be worship when done with a grateful heart. Lord, if this day brings moments of want, let contentment hold me steady. If it brings abundance, let humility guard me. Whether I sit in plenty or in need, let my joy not waver, for you are the same. You are my bread in hunger, my water in dryness, my song in silence. You do not change with circumstance. You are the constant that keeps my heart from drifting. So here, in this wilderness that no longer feels barren, I choose to trust that you have already given enough. My hands are open, my heart is full, and in this quiet hour, I discover that gratitude is the sweetest meal of all. Lord, as the quiet of the morning deepens and the first warmth of sunlight touches the world, I find myself longing to know which way to walk. Yesterday's peace still lingers in my chest like a soft echo. Yet I feel the pull of decisions waiting ahead. The wilderness I sat in has not vanished. It has only changed shape. I know now that you were there even when the path seemed hidden, and so I come again, my heart steady but seeking. I do not ask for the full map, only for the next step. Teach me to follow without fear, to move in rhythm with your leading rather than my own anxiety. I have learned that content rests not in certainty, but in trust. Father, you are the shepherd who knows the terrain long before I take a single step. You see the twists in the road, the valleys I cannot avoid, and the green pastures I have yet to discover. You know the way because you are the way. Sometimes, I imagine that walking with you should mean clarity, that every choice should feel obvious. But life is rarely like that. Often, I stand where several paths meet, each one whispering its own promise, and I hesitate. I overthink. I analyze. I worry about getting it wrong, yet deep down, I hear your voice calling not for perfection, but for proximity. You are not asking me to have everything figured out, only to stay close enough to hear when you whisper. This is the way. God, help me to stop rushing ahead of you. The world around me moves with relentless pace, pushing me to act quickly, to choose fast, to never appear uncertain. But you move at the pace of grace, not pressure. You are patient, never hurried, never late. Teach me to match my steps to yours. Let your voice cut through the noise of advice, opinions, and fears that fight for my attention. When I cannot see far ahead, let me remember that your word is a lamp to my feet, not a floodlight to the horizon. I only need enough light for this moment. That is enough because you are enough, Lord. I have walked roads before that I thought were right, only to find they led to walls instead of doors. Yet even there, you met me. You used the detours to teach me humility, to strip away pride, to make me tender to your direction. Now, I want to walk differently. I do not want to depend on my own understanding, but on your wisdom that sees beyond time. Help me to seek you not only in big decisions, but in the smallest ones, the words I choose, the people I help, the way I respond to interruptions. Each choice, no matter how ordinary, can become sacred when guided by your hand. Father, sometimes your leading feels like silence, and that silence unsettles me. I want clear signs. Visible, confirmation, an obvious yes or no. But you often guide through peace instead of lightning, through stillness instead of spectacle. Remind me that quiet does not mean absence. In the pause, you are teaching me to trust your heart more than my sight. When I cannot hear instructions, let me keep walking in obedience to what you last said. Faith does not always need new directions. Sometimes it simply requires steadfastness in the ones already given. When doubts creep in, let me remember that your guidance is not fragile. I cannot ruin your plan by missing a step. You are too kind to let me drift beyond redemption, too sovereign to let my missteps end the story. Even if I wander, you will find me. You are the shepherd who leaves the 99 for the one, who carries the lost until their legs regain strength. I want to walk with that assurance, to know that my journey is held, my mistakes redeemed, and my future secure in your care. Lord, I ask for sensitivity to your nudges today. Help me to recognize when peace grows or fades, when conviction stirs, when grace feels heavy or light. Let me discern your voice from the echo of fear. I want to be still enough to notice divine direction in the ordinary. When the phone rings, when a stranger crosses my path, when a door closes unexpectedly, help me to pause and ask, "Is this you, Lord?" I do not want to live by impulse, but by intimacy. Let obedience become instinct, not obligation. Father, I know that following you often means walking through uncertainty. Yet every step taken in faith becomes a declaration that I believe you are good. Even when I cannot see where you are leading, I want to trust that no road walked with you is ever wasted. Even detours carry purpose. Even delays hold lessons. Teach me to value the journey more than the destination, to see each day as a classroom of grace. Let me find beauty in process, strength in waiting, and joy in obedience. There are days when the road climbs steeply, and I grow weary before noon. The voice of discouragement whispers that I will never reach what you promised. But you remind me that the climb is part of the promise. The hill is not punishment, it is preparation. Each step strengthens what comfort once kept weak. Help me not to despise slow progress, for you delight in faithfulness more than speed. Let me remember that endurance is its own kind of victory. Lord, if today brings choices that test my patience, let wisdom rise before frustration does. If paths appear blocked, let faith whisper that closed doors are sometimes protection, not rejection. If the road bends through shadow, let courage remind me that valleys cannot exist without surrounding mountains. You are both the light that guides and the strength that carries. I do not walk alone. I never have. And so, as the sun fully rises and warmth spreads across the world, I take another step forward. I do not need to know what waits beyond the horizon. I only need to trust that you are there. My path may twist and my footing may falter, but you walk beside me with steady grace. You lead me not with force, but with love. Wherever you go, I will follow. Not out of fear of being lost, but because in your presence I am found. Father, as the path unfolds and the morning brightens, I can already sense the shifting winds of this day. There are moments when the sky changes without warning, when peace feels fragile and faith is tested by the weight of uncertainty. Yet, even as clouds gather, I remember that you have not called me to live only in sunlight. You have called me to trust through the storm. The lessons you teach in calm seas are precious, but the ones learned amid waves and thunder carve strength deep into the soul. And so, I lift my heart now, not to escape the storm, but to worship you within it. Lord, I confess that I still fear the shaking. When trouble comes suddenly, my instinct is to seek safety, to question why the winds must blow so fiercely. But you remind me that storms do not come to destroy. They often come to reveal what cannot be shaken. They uncover the roots that hold firm when everything else bends. You are not absent when the sky turns dark. You are the calm at the center, the steady heartbeat of hope that survives the noise. Help me to remember that peace is not the absence of chaos, but the presence of your hand upon my heart. God, teach me to praise you when thunder speaks louder than comfort. Gratitude in the storm feels unnatural, almost impossible, but it is holy. It is the language of trust, the sound of faith that refuses to surrender to fear. When I lift thanks through trembling lips, I am declaring that my circumstances are not my master. You are. Let my gratitude become a shield that deflects despair, a song that rises above the roar of uncertainty. I want to live as one who has seen storms, but also seen the rainbow afterward. I want my soul to remember that even rain carries the promise of renewal. Father, when winds of adversity rage around me, help me to hold to your promises. Remind me of every time you have brought me through what once felt impossible. Let memory become my anchor, the testimony that steadies my soul when new trials come. You have never failed me. You have never abandoned me to the waves. Even when I doubted, you were guiding unseen beneath the surface, steering my fragile boat toward safety. Today, as I face the unknown, let gratitude keep me steady. Gratitude reminds me that the storm cannot erase your faithfulness. It can only make it shine brighter. Lord, I want to be someone who thanks you not after deliverance, but during the waiting. Let my praise not depend on comfort, but on conviction. When lightning flashes and uncertainty blinds my path, help me to see with the eyes of faith. Even in the noise, your whisper of peace is enough. Even when I cannot predict the outcome, your presence is the guarantee I cling to. I do not ask you to calm every storm around me. I ask you to calm the one inside me. Let my heart beat to the rhythm of trust rather than panic. Let each thank you I speak be a declaration that I believe you are still in control. God, there are moments when fear creeps quietly through bad news, through conflict, through the fragile edges of my hope. When it comes, let my first response be prayer, not panic. Teach me to stand firm, to lift my eyes above the waves and see you walking toward me, unbothered by what terrifies me. You are not overwhelmed by what overwhelms me. You do not abandon ship when storms arrive. You stand upon them. You transform what threatens to sink me into the very ground that strengthens my faith. Father, I thank you for the strange mercy that hides within hardship, the way pain can purify motives, the way disappointment can deepen dependence, the way loss can make room for new life. Gratitude in the storm is not blind optimism. It is the courage to see grace where others see only disaster. It is the understanding that every trial refines, every tear waters seeds of future joy. Help me to live with that awareness. Let me not waste the lessons of difficulty. Instead, let me collect them like treasures, evidence that faith survived what fear tried to drown. When I feel weak, Lord, remind me that endurance itself is worship. Each breath taken in faith is a form of praise. Each step forward, when the wind pushes back, is a declaration that love wins over fear. Let me rest in knowing that I do not fight alone. You are the great defender, the protector who stands between me and the tempest. Even when I am silent, you are still speaking peace. Even when I am weary, you are still holding me steady. Gratitude opens my eyes to see that the storm may surround me, but it will never define me. God, help me to notice beauty even here in the pattern of rain against the window, in the quiet resilience of creation, in the strength that grows when comfort fades. Storms reveal that I am more capable of trust than I thought. They strip away illusion and leave what is eternal. Let me not despise these seasons, but embrace them as sacred classrooms of courage. If this storm must continue, let me not pray only for it to end, but for it to accomplish its work within me. Let it shape my heart to reflect yours, patient, steady, unafraid. Father, I choose today to lift gratitude higher than complaint. I choose to bless your name not because I feel strong, but because you are strong in me. Let praise rise louder than fear, louder than disappointment, louder than the voice that says I will not make it. Gratitude is my weapon, my declaration, my song. I will thank you not because everything is right, but because you are righteous. I will praise not because I am untouched by trouble, but because I am untouched by hopelessness. As the storm rumbles and the light flickers through clouds, I stand with hands open. I do not know how long this will last, but I know who stands with me through it. My heart will not bow to fear. It will bow to faith. My gratitude will not wait for rescue. It will rise now, like a candle in the wind, defiant and unyielding. And when the clouds finally part, I will look back and see that the storm was never just about survival. It was about revelation. It was the place where I learned that you, Lord, are faithful not only to calm the wind, but to walk beside me while it blows. Father, as I sit here in the afterglow of surviving yet another storm, I can feel the quiet weight of what still lingers within me. The sky may have cleared, but there are corners of my heart still heavy with the things I have run from. Gratitude has steadied me through the winds, but honesty now calls me deeper. I realize that sometimes the storm outside is only a reflection of what rages within. It is easier to praise you when the sea grows calm, but harder to face the truth that I have often sailed away from your direction. And yet, you meet me even in my distance, like you met Jonah in the deep. You do not abandon. You pursue. You do not punish. You redeem. Lord, I confess that there have been moments when I resisted your calling because I feared what it required. I have prayed for guidance and then questioned the path you revealed. I have asked for peace but clung to comfort. I have sought miracles but hesitated when obedience became the cost. I see now that running does not require distance. It begins in the heart when I decide my way is safer than yours. I have carried dreams you never asked me to chase, fought battles you never asked me to fight, and built plans you never asked me to build. Yet, even as I went my own way, you never withdrew your mercy. You followed me into the depths I created for myself. God, it amazes me that even the belly of a storm or the depths of despair can become the place where your voice finds me again. You use the very chaos I feared to bring me to surrender. You turn the darkness I thought would drown me into a classroom of grace. When Jonah cried out from the belly of the fish, his words were not polished. They were desperate, and you heard him. You always hear the cry that rises from broken surrender. So here I am, not hiding, not pretending, simply saying, I need you again. I need your mercy to cleanse the residue of rebellion that still clings to me. I need your light to reach the places where I have resisted transformation. Father, I thank you that repentance is not a word of shame, but a doorway to restoration. It is not about guilt but grace. It is the turning of the soul toward the one it was made for. Today, I want to turn fully, without excuses, without delay, confess the pride that made me believe I could manage without listening, confess the fear that convinced me obedience was too risky. I confess the impatience that made me try to speed up what only you could complete. And as I speak these truths, I feel the weight lift. The same hand that calmed the sea for Jonah is reaching for me now, not to accuse, but to lift me higher. Lord, sometimes the waiting inside the deep feels endless. Like Jonah, I have asked, how long, O God, until deliverance comes? Yet I am learning that you are never late. The delay is not punishment, it is preparation. In the silence of waiting, you rebuild what disobedience fractured. In the darkness, you teach my heart to listen again. Gratitude in the storm was strength. Repentance in the stillness is transformation. I do not want to waste this moment of honesty. If I am in the belly of the fish, let it become the place where I remember who you are and who I am not. God, I thank you that your mercy reaches depths deeper than failure. When I thought I had gone too far, you were already there. When I felt unworthy to pray, you were already listening. You are not shocked by my weakness. You are drawn to it. You are not surprised by my struggle. You are the answer to it. I see now that the lowest point in my story is not the end, it is the meeting place between grace and truth. It is where I stop fighting and start trusting again. And in that surrender, peace begins to rise like light breaking through water. Father, help me to carry this awareness into every part of my life. I do not want to forget how it feels to be rescued. I want this memory to humble me, to soften me toward others who are still running. I want to be a vessel that carries compassion instead of judgment. For who am I to condemn when I have been forgiven so freely? Teach me to see others through the same eyes that saw me in the depths and called me back. Let mercy be the language of my life, not just the song of my prayer. Lord, I know that obedience will not always be easy. There will be days when I am tempted to flee again, to choose comfort over calling, but I ask that you strengthen my resolve. When fear whispers, let faith speak louder. When discouragement rises, remind me that I am not alone in the work you have given me. You are the captain of every journey, the voice that calms the sea, the hand that lifts me when I sink. I do not need to know how long the voyage will take. I only need to know you are steering. There is a strange beauty in realizing that even failure is not wasted in your hands. You turn rebellion into revelation. You take what was meant for regret and turn it into redemption. You turn the darkness that once frightened me into the evidence of how far your love will go to find me. The belly of the fish was not Jonah's grave, it was his womb of rebirth. And so, I choose to see my own struggles the same way, not as dead ends, but as beginnings disguised in discomfort. Father, I thank you that even in this moment of confession, hope stirs. I do not leave this place empty. I leave lighter, clearer, closer to you. I can feel the shift inside where guilt once spoke. Gratitude now sings. Where fear once ruled, trust begins to rise. You have reminded me that no detour can cancel destiny when grace is the compass. I will not wait until I am fully delivered to give thanks. I will praise you here, in the in-between, knowing that salvation already belongs to you. My heart, once restless, now finds rhythm in surrender, and I know the surface is near. Lord, as the tide of my heart begins to settle after confession, a deep and sacred quiet fills the space around me. It is not the silence of emptiness, but the stillness that follows honesty. It feels like standing in the soft hush after rain, the air cleansed, the ground renewed, the world momentarily pausing between what was and what will be. I realize that your presence has always been like this. Not loud, not demanding, but gentle enough to calm the noise within. The storms have their lessons. The confessions have their healing, but now you invite me to listen. You are not shouting from the heavens. You are whispering inside the soul. And so, I lean in, afraid to miss even a breath of your voice. Father, I have spent so much of my life talking, asking, explaining, begging, even arguing with you. But this morning, I sense you asking me to stop speaking for a while, to let you speak instead. In the quiet, I hear the heartbeat of something holy. It is not dramatic or distant. It is close and familiar, like a lullaby I once knew but forgot how to hum. I realize that you do not compete with the volume of my thoughts. You wait until I am still enough to notice. In that realization, something shifts. I begin to understand that prayer is not always about words. Sometimes, it is about awareness, about resting in the fact that you are here, breathing beside me, guiding me even when I am silent. God, help me to become fluent in the language of stillness. The world teaches noise as a form of validation. It tells me that to be seen, I must shout. To be valued, I must perform. But you speak differently. You lead me into quiet places not to hide me, but to heal me. You teach me that stillness is not inactivity, it is intimacy. It is the sacred pause where love speaks without sound. Let me stop mistaking business for purpose and motion for progress. Teach me to recognize that the deepest growth often happens beneath the surface, where roots stretch in silence. There is something transforming about hearing you in the ordinary moments. Sometimes your voice comes not as words, but as peace that suddenly makes no sense amid chaos. Sometimes it arrives as a memory that stirs compassion where bitterness once lived. Sometimes it is simply the quiet conviction that I am not alone. Help me not to overlook these small revelations. Let me learn to trace your fingerprints across my day, the unexpected kindness, the sudden pause, the unplanned delay that turns out to be protection. Your whispers are everywhere, but I must learn to tune my soul to their frequency. Lord, I thank you for this discipline of listening. It feels uncomfortable at first because silence exposes the things I try to drown out. My fears, my doubts, my hidden grief, they rise like shadows when the noise fades. But even then, you meet me in the discomfort. You do not silence the noise by force. You outshine it with truth. Slowly, I begin to realize that your voice has never been absent. It was just competing with too many others. And as I sit longer in the quiet, what once felt empty begins to feel full. It is as though my spirit is remembering how to breathe again. Father, help me to carry this stillness into the noise of the day. The world will demand my attention soon enough, the emails, the responsibilities, the expectations, but let me not lose this awareness. Let your voice be the thread that runs through the chaos, the grounding rhythm beneath every moment. When the crowd gets loud, let peace remind me that I do not belong to the noise. When anxiety rushes in, let your whisper call me back to center. Let your presence become the quiet confidence that steadies me no matter what the day demands. Sometimes, Lord, I fear silence because I mistake it for absence. When I do not feel you, I assume you are far away. But now I see that even in the quiet, you are closer than ever. Silence is not distance, it is invitation. It is the space where faith grows without proof, where love deepens without needing constant reassurance. In that space, I begin to hear what cannot be heard in words, the steady truth that I am safe, that I am loved, that I am guided by a hand I cannot always see but can always trust. God, let this awareness shape the way I live. Let me speak less and listen more, not just to you, but to the people you have placed around me. Teach me to hear the pain behind someone's anger, the loneliness behind their noise, the longing behind their laughter. Listening is an act of love, and I want my heart to reflect yours. Make me someone who carries quiet wherever I go, who brings peace instead of pressure, who listens more deeply than I speak. Let others feel heard in my presence the way I feel understood in yours. Father, I ask that you keep me from rushing through this sacred quiet. Let it soak into me like morning light, warming every hidden place. I do not want to treat peace as a fleeting feeling. I want it to become my posture. Teach me to begin every conversation, every decision, every challenge from a place of stillness. Let calm become my foundation, not the reward I chase after exhaustion. When the world expects reaction, let me respond with reflection. When it demands urgency, let me choose presence. Lord, even now, as the morning grows louder and life begins to stir around me, I sense that this silence is not ending, it is simply changing form. It will travel with me in my steps, in my breath, in the pauses between words. It will be the quiet confidence that reminds me that you are always speaking, even when I cannot hear. You do not need to shout because you are never far. You are the voice inside the stillness, the peace that outlasts chaos, the love that outlives fear. And as I rise from this moment, I carry that still voice with me, knowing it will guide me through the noise that awaits beyond the door. Father, as the still voice within me softens into calm resolve, I feel you gently guiding my thoughts toward one simple truth. Life is made of beginnings, not just the grand ones that everyone notices, but the quiet restarts that happen after failure, after disappointment, After the long silence where faith feels like it is flickering, each morning is proof that you still believe in fresh starts. Even when I struggle to believe in myself, the dawn outside my window reminds me that no night lasts forever, and the fact that I am breathing now is its own kind of miracle. You have not finished your work in me. You are teaching me how to begin again. Lord, there are days when starting over feels too heavy. The past lingers like a shadow, whispering that I have already tried and failed, that change is only an illusion. But your voice cuts through that lie with gentle authority. You remind me that grace is not a limited supply, it renews like sunrise, relentless and faithful. Yesterday's mistakes do not disqualify me from today's mercy. What I called failure, you call formation. What I called ending, you call preparation. Every misstep, every regret, every unanswered prayer becomes part of the foundation you are building beneath me. You waste nothing, not even my weakness. God, help me to look at my life not through the lens of defeat, but through the eyes of redemption. Teach me to see the beauty in beginning again, not as proof of inconsistency, but as a sign of resilience. The courage to begin again is not born from confidence in myself. It is born from confidence in you. It is the quiet decision to believe that your mercy still reaches where I stand. Let this new beginning not be rushed or forced, but gentle and grounded in trust. Let me walk slowly into it, with a heart unafraid to hope again. Father, sometimes the hardest part of beginning again is forgiving myself. I hold on to the past if it is proof of who I will always be. I replay old words, old choices, old wounds until they become walls that keep me from moving forward. But you are not standing on the other side of those walls, waiting for me to climb over them. You are already here, inside the ruins, helping me rebuild. You do not call me by my failures. You call me by my name. The past may shape me, but it does not define me. What defines me is your unshakable love. Lord, let me see renewal as something sacred, not shameful. The world may mock the one who starts over too many times, but you celebrate every return. The prodigal was not punished for coming home late. He was embraced for coming home at all. Teach me to live with that same humility and that same hope. I want to walk back into life, not as someone trying to earn love again, but as someone already loved. I want to approach this day not with fear of failing again, but with gratitude that I am given the chance to try once more. God, give me the courage to let go of what cannot come with me. Sometimes starting anew means releasing what no longer is the person you are shaping me to be. It means letting dreams die so that better ones can rise. It means closing chapters that no longer hold truth. Let me not cling to what was simply because it is familiar. You are not in the comfort of the past. You are in the promise of what is ahead. If I must walk into the unknown again, let me do it with open hands. You cannot fill what I refuse to release. Father, help me to start this day as if it were the first, not the continuation of old regrets. Let my first breath be gratitude, my first step be faith, my first thought be trust. I want to live as someone who believes in renewal so deeply that even the smallest act, pouring a cup of water, offering a kind word, Choosing patience feels like a seed of resurrection. Every sunrise is a reminder that grace begins at the simplest level, the willingness to rise. Even if I stumble again, even if progress feels slow, I will not despise small beginnings. You delight in them because they require dependence, not perfection. Lord, remind me that new beginnings rarely look dramatic. Sometimes they begin quietly in forgiveness whispered under trembling breath, in choosing joy before it is felt, in showing up to life when the heart is still sore. Starting again is not about wiping away the past, but walking forward with new perspective. I do not have to erase what has been. I only have to let you redeem it. You are the God who makes beauty out of brokenness, who turns ashes into meaning, who transforms regret into testimony. My role is simply to say yes, to take the first step into grace and trust that you will guide the rest. God, thank you for the times you have already given me new beginnings that I did not even recognize. There were mornings when I thought I was just surviving, but in truth, you were birthing something new. You were softening hard places, planting unseen hope beneath disappointment. And now I see it clearly. Every fresh start begins with surrender. I cannot build what you have not blessed. I cannot move forward if I keep looking backward. Help me to lift my eyes from what was and fix them on what is unfolding. Even now, you are writing something beautiful in invisible ink across the pages of my life. Father, let this be the day I start again with courage, not the kind that roars, but the kind that whispers, I will try once more. Let it be the day I choose faith over fear, movement over stagnation, hope over regret. Let it be the day I remember that the same power that raised Christ from the grave lives in me, breathing new life into weary places. The sun is rising again, and so am I, not because I am strong, but because you are. I step forward with open hands, trusting that whatever this day holds, it will be enough. For when you are in the beginning, every ending finds its purpose, and every dawn becomes a promise fulfilled. Lord, as I take the next step after new beginnings, I realize that the path forward is not always level ground. Renewal is not a straight road lined with ease. It wins through valleys where light dims and faith is stretched thin. Yet even here, I can feel your presence like quiet footsteps beside mine. The morning is softer now, and though the air carries the chill of uncertainty, my heart remembers what you whispered before. The courage to begin again was never about avoiding the valleys, but walking through them with you. The shadows do not mean you have left. They mean I am being led deeper into trust. Father, I have learned that faith grows best where comfort fades. In the valley, I cannot rely on what I see, for the horizon is hidden and the way seems narrow. I must walk by what I know of you, not by what I understand of the moment. When my eyes can no longer trace your plan, my heart must choose to rest in your character. You have never failed me, even when I mistook silence for absence. You are here, as constant as breath. Even when I cannot name the direction, the valley may test me, but it cannot take me where your grace cannot reach. God, there are days when the valley feels endless. The echoes of doubt grow louder than prayer, and discouragement settles like fog around my thoughts. I question if I have wandered too far, if I have misunderstood your leading. But then I remember that you are the shepherd who walks before me and behind me, who carries me when the ground grows too steep. The valley may be dark, but it is still within your sight. The shadows cannot hide me from your love. Even here, where I feel small, you are doing unseen work, strengthening what is fragile, deepening what is shallow, shaping what is uncertain into something unshakable. Father, help me to see the valley not as punishment, but as preparation. It is here that I learn patience, endurance, and dependence. It is here that humility takes root and pride is undone. The mountaintop inspires, but the valley transforms. Teach me not to resist its lessons or rush its timing. Let me walk slowly, noticing how you turn even hardship into holy ground. Each step forward becomes a quiet act of faith, a declaration that I trust you even when I do not feel triumphant. And as I walk, I begin to see that the valley, too, has its beauty, the gentle streams of grace that flow through it, the resilience of flowers blooming beneath shadow, the comfort of your steady hand guiding me unseen. Lord, I confess that sometimes I envy the light. I look at others standing in clarity while I stumble in questions. But you remind me that faith is not born in sunlight. It is forged in shadow. Anyone can believe when the sky is clear, but it is in the valley that belief becomes conviction. It is in the silence that prayer becomes surrender. I am learning that the valley does not separate me from you, it draws me closer. When the road narrows and noise fades, your whisper becomes unmistakable. You are not leading me into darkness. You are teaching me how to find light within it. God, let me not waste this season by fighting it. Help me to walk through it with open eyes and a tender spirit. Let the valley strip away what is unnecessary fear, pride, control until only trust remains. Let every tear water the soil of new beginnings, and every H become a reminder that growth is still happening, even when unseen. When discouragement knocks, let me remember that you never measure progress by speed, but by surrender. You are not disappointed by my trembling steps. You delight in my persistence. Father, when I grow weary, remind me that I do not walk alone. Your rod and staff comfort me, not because they remove difficulty, but because they remind me that you are near. You do not stand at the exit of the valley waiting for me to emerge. You walk beside me in the center of it. Your hand does not pull me from the shadows. It steadies me within them. You turn fear into faith with every breath I take beside you, and though I cannot see the end, I can sense that each step forward is leading somewhere sacred. Lord, in moments when my strength runs low, let me borrow yours. When hope flickers, your promises be the flame that keeps it alive. Remind me that no valley lasts forever. Every descent carries the promise of ascent. Morning always follows night, even if the waiting feels long. I may not know when the path will rise, but I trust that it will. You are not only the God of beginnings, but also the God of endurance. You finish what you start, and you have not brought me here to abandon me halfway. God, I thank you for the hidden blessings live within the valley, the humility that grows when pride fails, the compassion that blooms when pain softens the heart, the wisdom that forms in waiting. These treasures are not visible from the mountaintop. They are found only here, where the soul learns to lean fully on you. When I look back one day, I know I will see that this valley was not a detour, but a divine passage. What felt like delay was actually design. What felt like loss was transformation in disguise. Father, as I lift my eyes from the shadows, I begin to see the faint glow of light ahead. It is not yet bright, but it is enough to keep me walking, enough to remind me that valleys are not destinations, they are transitions. The journey continues, and you are still the same faithful shepherd leading me through. My steps may be slow, but they are sure, because they are guided by your love. And in that truth, I find peace not because the valley has ended, but because I finally understand that you are the light guiding me through it all along. Father, as the faint glow from the valley grows brighter and the horizon begins to take shape, I feel something new awakening within me. It is not the loud confidence that once demanded answers, but a quieter kind of strength, the strength that whispers rather than shouts, that trusts rather than insists. The path still wins ahead, but I no longer need it to be easy to know that you are good. I no longer measure your love by how smooth the road feels beneath my feet. Instead, I am learning to recognize it in the steady rhythm of grace that carries me, in the calm assurance that I am not walking alone. Lord, I used to believe strength meant standing tall, unshaken, unbothered by life's weight. But you are teaching me that true strength often looks like stillness, like choosing peace when the heart trembles, like surrendering control when pride wants to fight. The world calls it weakness. You call it wisdom. The meekness you model is not fragile, it is fierce in its trust. It is the kind of courage that does not need to prove itself, the kind of resilience that grows from knowing who holds the storm, not who conquers it. Let me learn that kind of strength, the kind that does not depend on circumstance, but on communion with you. God, I have seen how easily fear disguises itself as caution, and how often I mistake anxiety for preparation. But faith does not mean ignoring reality. It means acknowledging that reality is not final authority. You are. Faith is not denial, it is defiance of despair. It is the quiet conviction that light exists even when the valley is deep, that purpose lives inside pain, and that love never leaves. Help me carry that understanding into the day before me. When uncertainty rises, let trust anchor me before panic can take hold. When worry begins to whisper, let gratitude answer louder. Father, I know that gentleness is not weakness. It is the fruit of confidence in your control. It is the peace that comes when I no longer feel the need to grasp or defend. The gentleness you cultivate in me is not passive, it is power under restraint. A love that stays calm in chaos. A voice that speaks kindness into anger. I want to live from that place. I want my presence to bring quiet instead of noise, compassion instead of criticism. Let my words be slow to wound, quick to heal. Let my hands carry warmth instead of haste. Let every action reflect the peace I find in you. Lord, I thank you that strength and softness can coexist. You have shown me that resilience is not about refusing to break, but about knowing where to bend. When the winds of life blow, help me to lean toward grace, not bitterness. Let the storms that once frightened me become reminders that I have survived before and will survive again. You have made me strong, not by hardening my heart, but by softening it enough to trust. You have replaced the armor of pride with the shield of peace. And now I see that the most powerful defense against darkness is not aggression, it is love. God, teach me to see the strength hidden in small moments, the choice to forgive when I could resent, the act of patience when rushing feels easier. The decision to believe good will come even when the evidence is faint. These are the battles of gentle faith, quiet victories that no one may notice, but heaven celebrates. They are not loud, but they are eternal. Help me remember that you are more pleased by persistence than performance, by sincerity more than spectacle. Each time I choose kindness in the face of cruelty, or peace in the face of panic, I am reflecting your heart. Father, when I face situations that test my gentleness, remind me that I do not stand alone. Your Spirit is my teacher, the calm within every storm. You whisper to me in moments of tension, reminding me that peace is not found by winning arguments, but by surrendering to love. Let me not react out of fear or pride, but respond from the quiet strength that flows from you. When others speak harshly, let my voice remain soft but steady. When the world demands retaliation, let my heart remember the power of restraint. I do not have to prove my worth to those who cannot see it, because you already called me beloved. Lord, there will be days when gentleness feels impossible, when frustration burns, when injustice provokes, when exhaustion blurs patience. In those moments, remind me that grace is stronger than reaction. Remind me that peace is a weapon the world does not understand. Help me to stand firm, not through might, but through mercy. Let me become an instrument of reconciliation where division thrives. Let me carry peace like a candle through dark rooms, knowing that even the smallest light shifts the balance. God, I thank you that your strength is never harsh. You could command the wind with fury, but you often choose to whisper instead. You could force obedience, yet you invite surrender. You could demand perfection, but you choose relationship. That is the kind of strength I long to mirror. Let my life echo your gentleness, the power that heals without shouting, the love that restores without demanding, the faith that moves mountains not with noise, but with trust. Father, as I step into this new day, let this gentle strength define how I walk. Let it steady my heart when chaos tries to sway me. Let it guide my tone when frustration rises. Let it remind me that I am not called to win every battle, but to reflect you in every moment. The valley taught me endurance. This stillness teaches me peace. And as I move forward, I see that faith need not roar to be real, it simply needs to remain. Quiet, unwavering, alive. And so, with the first full light of morning stretching across the horizon, I rise with renewed purpose. The shadows are fading, not because they are gone, but because your light is stronger. The world outside may still shake, but within me, a new kind of strength stands firm, the strength of gentle faith that does not fear the journey ahead, for it walks in rhythm with you. Lord, as the sunlight spills more boldly across the morning, I realize that strength, true strength, is not found in striving, but in surrender. The quiet faith you have been teaching me does not demand control. It invites release. Each breath feels like a small act of letting go, a whisper that says, "I trust you." The world around me urges constant motion, endless effort. But you draw me into rest, a deeper rhythm, where surrender is not defeat, but divine alignment. I see now that peace is not something I chase. It is something I uncover when I finally stop fighting what you are trying to form within me. Father, I confess that surrender has always felt like loss to me. I have held tightly to plans, dreams, even fears, thinking that my grip could protect me from disappointment. But every time I have clung too tightly, I have only exhausted myself. The truth is, control was never safety, it was illusion. You are teaching me that surrender is not about giving up, but giving over, is placing every piece of my life, even the broken ones, into your capable hands. You never ask me to abandon hope. You ask me to entrust it to you. The difference is quiet, but profound. One drains me. The other delivers me. God, help me to remember that surrender is not a single act. It is a daily posture. Each morning brings new opportunities to choose trust over fear. I surrender not just the heavy burdens, but the subtle ones too, the need to be understood, the urge to please, the desire to predict what comes next. You see the things I cannot name, the anxious thoughts I disguise as preparation, the silent tension between what I say I trust and what I actually release. Meet me there, in that gap between words and willingness. Teach me to let go without hesitation, to rest in your timing without complaint. Lord, when I surrender, remind me that I am not losing myself. I am returning to who I was meant to be. The act of yielding does not erase identity. It restores it. The more I release, the more room you have to fill me with your peace, your wisdom, your presence. I am learning that faith is not holding on with clenched fists, but standing open-handed before you, willing to receive whatever you choose to give, willing to release whatever you ask to take. I do not need to understand the process to trust the purpose. You are faithful even when I cannot trace the plan. Father, I surrender my expectations, the silent scripts I have written for how life should unfold. I surrender the deadlines I have placed on your promises, the impatience that whispers that you have forgotten me. I surrender the outcomes I have tried to force, the prayers I have demanded answers for on my timeline. Let my surrender be honest, not partial. Let it reach the corners of my heart, where control still hides, disguising itself as responsibility. Remind me that responsibility and control are not the same. I am responsible for faithfulness. You are responsible for fulfillment. When I mix those roles, I lose peace. When I trust your role, peace returns. God, teach me the beauty of releasing without resentment. Sometimes I say I surrender, yet deep inside, I mourn what I let go of as if it were stolen from me. But nothing surrendered to you is ever lost. It is transformed. What feels like an ending becomes soil for something unseen. What feels like emptiness becomes sacred space for grace to grow. Let me hold this truth close, that surrender never subtracts from me. It multiplies peace within me. It is not about losing control, it is about finding contentment in the one who never loses anything. Lord, Help me to see surrender not as passivity, but as partnership. It is not waiting without purpose. It is aligning my pace with yours. It is moving when you move, pausing when you pause, trusting that both momentum and stillness have meaning. I want to live like a leaf carried by the river of your will, yielding to the current, not resisting its flow. When you lead me into action, let obedience be my instinct. When you lead me into waiting, let patience be my prayer. Either way, let surrender be my posture, not my panic. Father, I surrender my fears today, the fear of lack, the fear of loss, the fear of failure. These fears masquerade as wisdom, but they are thieves of peace. They whisper that surrender is dangerous, that if I loosen my grip, everything will fall apart. Yet the opposite is true. Only in releasing do I truly find stability. My security has never been in what I can control, but in who holds me when I cannot. Let your perfect love cast out the fear that still clings to my spirit. Teach me that surrender is not the absence of care, but the fullness of trust. God, in moments when surrender feels painful, let me remember the image of the seed. It does not resist the soil or fight the darkness. It yields. It breaks. It disappears from sight. And yet in that hidden place, life begins. That is what surrender looks like, not vanishing, but transforming. You are the gardener of my soul, tending to what I release, nurturing what I entrust, pruning what I hold too tightly. Help me to rest in the truth that every surrendered seed eventually rises again, stronger, fuller, and more alive than before. Father, as the day unfolds, let my surrender take shape in how I live, in my conversations. Let me release the need to always be right. In my work, let me trust that excellence can coexist with rest. In my relationships, let me love without needing control. And in my spirit, let me find peace in the mystery of your will. Surrender is not something I perform, it is someone I become. The more I yield, the more I reflect you, the more I trust, the freer I become. Lord, as the sun climbs higher, I realize that surrender is not a single act of release. It is a lifestyle of remembrance. Every sunrise calls me to let go again, not because I failed yesterday, but because I am still learning that your will is always better than mine. So here I stand in the warmth of morning, hands open, heart steady, ready once again to trust the one who never wastes what is placed in his care. Father, as my heart continues to rest in surrender, I begin to sense a deeper calm taking root within me, like a river that has found its rhythm again after the flood. The rush of striving has quieted, and the waters of my soul run smooth and steady beneath your care. I can almost hear the echo of the psalmist. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. That verse no longer feels like poetry. It feels like presence. You are leading me into this peace, not the fleeting kind that depends on perfect conditions, but the lasting peace that flows from knowing I am exactly where you want me to be. Lord, it amazes me how much you restore without noise. The world equates healing with spectacle, but you work in silence. You do not demand attention. You simply pour grace into the cracks until they no longer ache. The still waters you lead me to are not merely rest from exhaustion. They are places of renewal. They are where my heart begins to see clearly again, where I remember who I am in you and who I am not. You are teaching me that restoration does not always come through change in circumstances, but through change in perspective. Sometimes peace comes not from what is fixed, but from realizing I no longer need everything to be fixed to feel whole. God, I am beginning to understand that stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of harmony. It is walking through life in step with your pace, instead of fighting against it. When my spirit moves too fast, I lose sight of you. When I slow down and listen, I find you waiting in the quiet. These still waters you provide are not a luxury, they are a necessity. Without them, I forget how to breathe, how to listen, how to see beauty in the simple. But when I linger here, I can hear creation itself singing of your faithfulness, the wind brushing the trees, the soft hum of morning light, the rhythm of life that continues because you sustain it. Father, teach me to dwell beside these waters, even when the world rushes around me. Let this peace not depend on solitude, but on awareness. Help me to carry the stillness of this moment into the noise of the day, so that I no longer need quiet places to find you. I only need a quiet heart. Let the calm you give me become the current that guides my thoughts, words, and actions. I do not want to merely visit peace. I want to live from it. I want to become so anchored in your presence that no storm can stir the deep waters of my trust. Lord, there are moments when I forget this rest and return to striving. I try to make things happen, to fix what is not mine to fix. I grasp at control again, as if my strength could steady what only grace can. But you are patient with me when I rush. You remind me gently that peace cannot be forced, it must be received. It flows where surrender has cleared a path. Every time I let go, I find you waiting by the water's edge, inviting me to sit again. You do not scold, you simply restore. You remind me that stillness is not weakness, it is wisdom born of faith. God, in these still waters I find more than peace. I find clarity. The reflections that once distorted in turmoil now settle clear. I can see my own heart more honestly. I can see where pride has shaped my choices, where fear has clouded my faith. Yet, instead of shame, I find compassion in your gaze. You do not point out my flaws to condemn me, but to cleanse me. The water you offer is both mirror and mercy. When I look into it, I see not just my reflection, but your grace reshaping me into something new. The peace I feel here is not fragile, it is holy. It is the assurance that you are not in a hurry with my healing. Father, I ask that this peace not remain only for moments of prayer. Let it shape my character, my habits, my posture toward life. When others come to me weary, let them sense the still waters in me. Let my presence bring rest instead of pressure, kindness instead of criticism. Make me a reflection of the calm you have given. When the world is loud with opinions and fear, let my response be rooted in peace. Let me speak gently, move intentionally, and live as one who has been led beside your waters and learned to stay there. Lord, I thank you that your peace is not dependent on perfection. It flows freely even in imperfection, because it comes from you, not from me. You are the constant stream that runs through every season, the droughts of disappointment, the floods of change, the steady in-betweens. Even when I wander from the riverbanks, the current of your grace always finds a way to reach me. You do not let my restlessness separate me from your restoration. Instead, you call me back through whispers, through quiet reminders, through mercy that never stops flowing. God, help me to guard this peace like a treasure. The world will try to steal it with noise, with urgency, with distraction. But I will choose to return here again and again, not just in the morning, but throughout the day, in the middle of work, in moments of tension, in times of doubt. Every breath can become a prayer, every pause a return to the water's edge. The peace you give is not seasonal, it is eternal. It is the steady rhythm beneath the chaos, the gentle reminder that no matter what happens around me, all is well within me because you are here. Father, as I rise from this quiet place, I feel the weight of serenity resting upon me like sunlight on still water. The morning hums with life again, but I am not hurried, I am held. I am not untouched by the world, but I am unshaken within it. You have taught me that peace is not found by escaping life, but by inviting you into it. The still waters remain, even as I walk away from their shore, because they flow through me now, an unending reminder that my soul is anchored in something eternal. And with every step into this new day, I carry that river of quiet grace wherever you lead me next. Father, as I rise from the calm of still waters and walk into the unfolding rhythm of the day, I feel your peace echoing through me like a steady heartbeat. The stillness has not ended, it has become gratitude. Every breath feels like a thank you whispered into the morning air. Gratitude, I am learning, is not a reaction to perfection, but a recognition of presence. It is the awareness that you are here in every detail, every sound, every light that breaks through the clouds. I used to think Thanksgiving was something reserved for moments of abundance, but now I see it as the language of trust. It is how faith breathes. Lord, thankfulness is not always easy. Some mornings arrive heavy, with worries that press down before my feet even touch the floor. Yet even then, you remind me that gratitude is not denial, it is defiance. It is choosing to see goodness even when life feels uncertain. It is declaring that light exists even when shadows are long. Gratitude does not erase pain. It transforms how I carry it. It gives me eyes to see blessing buried within difficulty, to notice grace quietly at work in places I once overlooked. When I thank you in the middle of the unknown, I declare that you are greater than what I do not yet understand. God, help me to see that gratitude is not simply an emotion, it is a posture of the heart. It is the steady turning toward you, again and again. No matter the weather of my circumstances, some days gratitude feels like music. Other days, it feels like a whisper through tears, but both are holy. You hear them the same. You do not measure the strength of my gratitude by volume, but by sincerity. Even when my voice trembles, you receive it as worship. Let me learn to live in that posture, not waiting for better days to be thankful. but finding you in this one. Father, open my eyes to the ordinary wonders that surround me. The warmth of sunlight against my face, the kindness in a stranger's smile, the laughter that lingers after conversation, the breath that fills my lungs without effort. Every one of these is a miracle too familiar to be noticed, yet sacred all the same. Help me to pause long enough to see how much I already have. Gratitude expands what it touches. It multiplies joy, deepens peace, and softens the edges of fear. When I focus on what is missing, my spirit tightens. When I focus on what is given, it opens like a flower to light. Lord, remind me that gratitude does not depend on possession. It flows from perception. It is not about how much I hold, but how much I see. The poor in spirit are often the richest in thanksgiving, because they have learned that gratitude is not about having everything, but about recognizing that everything truly needed has already been given. When I learn to thank you for what I once took for granted, I find contentment blooming where comparison once lived. Comparison blinds me to your goodness. Gratitude restores my sight. It turns scarcity into sufficiency and worry into worship. God, I want to be someone who carries gratitude, not just in moments of reflection, but in the rhythm of living. Let my gratitude become visible through kindness, my thankfulness expressed through service. Gratitude that stays silent is incomplete. It was meant to overflow. When I give, when I forgive, when I choose compassion over complaint, I am extending the gratitude you planted in me. Help me to live with that awareness, so that thanksgiving becomes not a single act, but the atmosphere around me. Let others feel peace in my presence, because I carry appreciation for the sacredness of life itself. Father, sometimes I forget that gratitude is strongest when tested. It is easy to give thanks when prayers are answered, but it is sacred to give thanks while waiting. Gratitude in delay is faith in motion. It is trusting that your timing is still good even when mine feels restless. It is saying, even if I do not yet see the outcome, I see your hand holding me through it. Teach me to praise you not only for what is complete, but for what is still being written. Gratitude in uncertainty is the purest kind. It believes before evidence. It trusts before understanding. Lord, when disappointment visits, help me remember that gratitude and grief can coexist. I can thank you through tears because I know sorrow does not cancel grace, it reveals it. Even in loss, there are fragments of beauty that whisper that love was real, that life was meaningful, that you remain near. Teach me to find comfort in remembering rather than regret in what is gone. Gratitude turns memory into ministry. It transforms pain into perspective. Every time I choose to thank you in sorrow, I am reminding my heart that hope is not buried. It is only waiting to bloom again. God, I thank you for the way gratitude reshapes my spirit. It softens the hard places pride once ruled. It quiets the noise of worry and makes room for peace to grow. It turns ordinary days into holy ground. When I wake with a thankful heart, I see the world differently. I notice mercy hidden in interruptions, beauty disguised as delay, lessons disguised as loss. Gratitude teaches me that every moment, pleasant or painful, can become an altar of worship if I meet it with awareness of you. Father, as this morning unfolds, let gratitude be the melody that carries me through the day. Let it remind me that no moment is wasted when lived with thankfulness. Even the tasks that feel mundane can become sacred offerings when done with a grateful heart. Gratitude sanctifies the ordinary, transforms the simple, and magnifies joy. It makes space for grace to move through me, to others, and back again. And so, as I step into the sunlight, I carry this quiet power within me, the strength of gratitude that steadies my spirit, anchors my faith, and turns every breath into a prayer of praise. Lord, as gratitude fills the spaces of my heart, I find myself facing another quiet invitation, the call to wait. Gratitude teaches me to see your goodness in what already is, but waiting teaches me to trust your goodness in what is not yet. Faithful waiting is not passive. It is the steady courage of those who believe that unseen promises are still alive. In the stillness of waiting, my faith matures. It is not an easy lesson. My heart longs for movement, for answers, for the clarity that only time can bring. Yet you remind me that delay is not denial. Waiting is not punishment, it is preparation. Father, you know how restless my soul can be. I am quick to move, quick to solve, quick to plan. I measure time by outcomes and call it progress. But you measure differently. You see the unseen shaping that happens beneath the surface, the strength being built in silence, the character formed in surrender. While I wait, you work. Even when it looks like nothing is changing, you are aligning what I cannot see. Teach me to rest in that truth. Help me to remember that waiting is not empty when it is filled with faith. Every pause you allow has purpose, even when I do not understand it. God, I confess that waiting tests the very edges of my trust. It reveals whether I love your gifts more than I love you. When I only praise you for the answers, I miss the intimacy of the waiting itself. There is a sacred closeness found in uncertainty, in those hours when I have no choice but to depend on you completely. You meet me there, not with immediate answers, but with sustaining grace. You whisper that my worth is not measured by how quickly I move forward, but by how deeply I remain rooted in faith. Waiting refines me, it teaches me patience, humility, endurance, and a peace that cannot be hurried. Father, help me to see waiting as a form of worship. When I choose to trust in the silence, I am proclaiming that you are enough even without results. My waiting becomes praise when it is surrendered. The world tells me that waiting is wasted time, but you show me that it is sacred time, the soil where miracles begin to grow. Just as a seed must rest unseen before it rises, so must my heart learn to rest before it blooms. Waiting is not stillness without movement. It is movement in a deeper rhythm, the slow, sacred pace of transformation. Lord, I think of all the times you made me wait only to reveal that the delay was mercy. What I once saw as unanswered prayers were actually your protection. You held things back until I was ready to receive them without losing myself in them. You withheld doors until the right moment, when opening them would not harm me but heal me. You have never failed me. Every waiting season, though uncomfortable, has led to greater understanding. Looking back, I see that your timing was never late. It was love disguised as patience. The same God who guided me then is guiding me now, and I can rest in that unchanging truth. God, give me the grace to wait well, not with bitterness or fear, but with quiet confidence. Let my waiting be marked by hope instead of anxiety. Teach me to occupy the in-between with purpose, to pray, to serve, to grow, to love, even when outcomes remain unseen. Waiting is not about standing still. It is about standing firm. Help me to find beauty in the process, to see that the very tension I wish away is what stretches my faith into something stronger. In your perfect timing, what is unseen will become seen. Until then, I choose to trust you in the shadows. Father, I ask for patience not born of resignation, but of expectation. Patience that believes the promise even when the evidence fades. Patience that looks up to you instead of down at the clock. Waiting in faith means I no longer count the days, I count the lessons. You are not withholding joy from me. You are weaving it into something fuller. If I rush ahead, I risk missing the depth you are forming in me. Let me stay long enough in the waiting to become the person the answer requires. Sometimes the miracle is not in what I receive, but in who I become while I wait. Lord, in the stillness of waiting, help me remember that you are never absent. You are the unseen movement in every delay, the quiet hand steadying what I cannot control. You do not measure time the way I do, because you stand outside of it. My impatience cannot change your plan, but my trust can change my heart while I walk through it. Waiting is not punishment, it is partnership. You are preparing me for the answer as much as you are preparing the answer for me. When I understand that I can breathe again, I can wait without fear, knowing that you are working in both directions. God, let me not waste my waiting by filling it with worry. Let me fill it instead with worship. Every moment spent in gratitude and trust transforms delay into devotion. I do not want to emerge from waiting the same person I entered it. Let it deepen my compassion for others who wait. Soften my heart toward those whose prayers are still unfolding. Waiting teaches empathy, for it reminds me that we are all travelers between what is and what will be. In that shared uncertainty, we learn to love one another more tenderly, more humbly, more like you. Father, as this new morning unfolds, I sense that even waiting is part of your grace. The sky never rushes the sunrise. It simply opens when the light is ready. The flowers do not strain to bloom. They trust the rhythm of the season. So let my soul rest in that same trust today. If I am still waiting, then you are still working. And if you are still working, then I am still growing. Waiting is not the pause before life resumes. It is life itself, sacred in its unfolding. So I will wait, not with weariness, but with wonder. For even the waiting is woven with your love. Father, as I linger in the sacred rhythm of waiting, something gentle begins to awaken within me, a quiet renewal of hope. Not the fragile hope that depends on outcomes or the shallow hope that fades when the storm returns, but the deep, enduring kind that anchors the soul even when everything else trembles. Hope is the breath you place within me when despair tries to suffocate faith. It is the light that refuses to go out, no matter how long the night lasts. As I sit here, with the echoes of patience still shaping my heart, I begin to feel the tender warmth of expectation rise again. not because I see the full picture, because I know you are still painting it. Lord, I used to think hope meant wishing for better days, but now I understand it is trusting that even in difficult days, you are still good. Hope is not naive, it is courageous. It looks at the brokenness of the world and dares to believe in beauty. It looks at pain and declares that redemption is still possible. When everything seems delayed, hope whispers that nothing is wasted. You have shown me that hope is not a denial of reality, but a declaration of faith in spite of it. It does not erase the dark. It simply reminds me that the light is stronger. God, when my spirit grows weary, remind me that hope is not an emotion, it is a decision. It is the daily choice to believe that your promises are not forgotten, that your hand has not withdrawn, that your love is not conditional. Hope is the posture of a heart that refuses to give up, even when the evidence says to surrender. It is the quiet strength that keeps walking when every step feels heavy. I know now that hope grows strongest in seasons of uncertainty, because it must learn to live on trust alone. Father, I see now that every season of waiting has been a classroom for hope. You have taught me that real hope is not built on answered prayers, but on unshaken faith. Hope that depends on outcomes will always waver, but hope rooted in you will stand forever. The tree of faith does not bloom because the weather is kind, but because its roots reach deep enough to find water, even in drought. So let my roots sink deeper into you. Lord, let my hope drink from the river of your faithfulness, until I no longer fear the absence of rain. Lord, renew in me the kind of hope that restores vision, the hope that looks forward without forgetting gratitude. Hope is not about escaping the present, but embracing it with the belief that something divine is being woven through it. Teach me to hope with open hands, not clenched fists, to release control and receive peace. When I cling too tightly to my own expectations, I miss the miracle of how you choose to answer. But when I let go, hope has space to breathe, to grow, to surprise me. You do not disappoint those who hope in you. You reshape their hearts until they understand that fulfillment is not always what they imagined, it is often far greater. God, when I look around the world and see despair, remind me that hope is not a solitary flame. It multiplies when shared. Help me to be a bearer of hope to others, to speak words that lift, to listen with compassion, to act with kindness. There are so many who walk through their days without light, who carry quiet battles unseen. Let my presence remind them that they are not alone. Hope spreads not through sermons, but through presence. A gentle word, a patient heart, a hand extended in love. These are the vessels through which you breathe hope back into the world. Father, hope is not about what I see. It is about who you are. The world measures hope by circumstances, but I measure it by your character. You have never failed to turn ashes into beauty, mourning into joy, and endings into new beginnings. Even when I stand before doors that have closed, I remember that resurrection begins in tombs. You are the God who brings life where there was none, who turns impossibility into testimony. My hope is not built on my ability to predict outcomes, but on your unwavering ability to redeem them. That is why I can wait in peace, live with courage, and love without fear. Lord, sometimes hope flickers. There are moments when discouragement creeps in, when silence feels heavier than faith. Yet even then, you do not condemn me for my weakness. Instead, you gently rekindle what remains. A whisper of your promise, a glimpse of your grace, a reminder that you are not finished yet. Hope does not always roar, it sometimes sighs. But even a sigh can be sacred if it is directed toward you. For as long as I lift my eyes, no darkness can fully claim me. Hope endures, not because of my strength, but because of your presence that sustains it. God, let my hope not only restore my faith, but also renew my joy. Hope and joy are siblings of the same grace. One believes in what is coming. The other celebrates what already is. Together, they create balance in the soul. Joy without hope can become shallow. Hope without joy can become heavy. Teach me to hold both, to rejoice even while waiting, to smile even while stretching, to trust even while trembling. You are not just the source of my hope. You are the reason for my joy. When I remember that, fear loses its grip and peace takes its rightful place. Father, as the morning continues to unfold, I carry this renewed hope like a candle sheltered by your hand. The day ahead may not be easy, but it will not be empty, for you walk within it. Hope is the quiet assurance that whatever happens today, I will not face it alone. The sun rising through the clouds is not a promise of perfection, but a reminder that light always returns. And so, I will walk forward, not rushing, not fearing, but hoping. For my hope rests not in what I can see, but in the one who sees all things and calls them good. Father, as hope takes deeper root in my heart, I begin to see that the next step on this journey is trust, the kind of trust that no longer wavers when the path ahead is unclear. Hope stirs belief in what is possible, but trust anchors that belief in action. It is one thing to say, I believe in your goodness. It is another to walk into the unknown, resting in it. Trust requires courage, not because it is blind, because it dares to see beyond sight. It asks me to let go of what feels safe and to hold fast to what is eternal. And so, I come to you, asking for the strength to trust again, fully and freely, without fear of disappointment. Lord, you know how easily my heart builds walls after being hurt. When things fall apart, I begin to protect myself not only from pain, but from hope itself. Yet you call me to live with an open heart, to trust again, even when it trembles. Trusting you does not mean ignoring my wounds. It means believing that you can heal them. It means knowing that my story is not defined by betrayal or loss, but by your faithfulness that continues through it all. You are not the source of my heartbreak. You are the one who turns it into wholeness. So here I am again, Father, willing to believe that I can trust you even with the parts of me that still ache. God, teach me that trust is not built in grand moments, but in quiet choices. It is choosing not to worry about tomorrow because I know you are already there. It is releasing control over what I cannot fix and believing that you are still working in the unseen. Every time I surrender a fear, I am building trust. Every time I say, I do not understand, but I still believe, I am worshiping you with my uncertainty. Trust is not pretending to have no doubts. It is allowing faith to speak louder than them. Father, You have been patient with my fragile faith so many times. I have trusted you halfway, holding on with one hand while clinging to my own plans with the other. Yet you never turned away. You waited until I was ready to open both hands to release, to receive, to rest. Trusting you is not about ignoring wisdom or denying responsibility. It is about recognizing where my efforts end and your sovereignty begins. When I learn to let go, I discover peace. The more I release, the lighter my soul becomes. Trust is freedom disguised as surrender. Lord, I am reminded of the stories of those who trusted you through impossibility. Abraham waiting without proof, Moses leading without certainty, Mary believing without clarity. None of them saw the full picture, yet all of them walked forward. They trusted not because they understood the plan, but because they knew the planner. That same faith calls to me today. You are not asking me to be fearless. You are asking me to be faithful. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the choice to move forward with you in spite of it. God. Sometimes I think trust should feel peaceful, but often it feels like falling. It feels like stepping off the edge of logic into the vastness of grace. Yet every time I take that leap, I find that you have already built a bridge beneath me. You do not let me fall. You teach me to fly. You turn surrender into strength, vulnerability into victory. When I release my tight grip on how things should be, you surprise me with what they can become. Trust opens the door for miracles because it creates space for you to move. Father, help me to trust you not only with my future, but with my present. I often say I trust you with what is coming, yet I struggle to trust you with what already is. Teach me to see that your hand is just as present in the now as it will be in the next. The moment I am in this breath, this heartbeat is already held in your care. I do not need to rush to what is next to find you. You are here. Every second is sacred because it carries your presence. When I trust you with today, tomorrow takes care of itself. Lord, trusting again also means trusting people after being hurt by them. You have shown me that forgiveness and trust are not the same, but both are essential to healing. Trusting others begins with trusting you first. When I remember that you are my ultimate protector, I no longer fear being vulnerable. I can love without fear of rejection because my worth is rooted in you, not in their response. I can open my heart without anxiety because I know that even if others fail me, you never will. To trust again is not weakness, it is an act of holy courage that declares, my peace does not depend on the actions of others, but on the constancy of God. God, I want to walk through each day with a heart that trusts you naturally. Not because of what I feel, but because of what I know. Trust is not built in moments of certainty, but in moments of surrender. When I cannot see the way, I will remember that you are the way. When I do not understand, I will remind myself that your understanding has no limits. When I feel lost, I will rest in the truth that you never lose sight of me. Every step I take in faith becomes a declaration that my story is safe in your hands. Father, as the morning light stretches across the sky, I feel the invitation once again to let go of the need to know, to control, to rush, and simply trust. The dawn itself is a lesson. The world does not command the sun to rise, it trusts that it will. so too will I trust in you, who brings light to every darkness, who keeps promises that time cannot undo. I will step into this day not with fear, but with faith, not with hesitation, but with courage. For you are my steady ground, and trusting you is the most certain thing I will ever do. Father, as I learn to trust you more deeply, I realize that true trust always leads to surrender. Not the kind of surrender that feels like defeat, but the holy kind that feels like freedom. Surrender is not giving up, is giving in to your love, to your wisdom, to your timing. It is loosening my grip on what I cannot control and opening my hands to what you have already promised. The courage to trust begins the journey, but surrender is where peace finally takes root. I used to think surrender was weakness, but now I see that it is strength in its purest form, the strength that comes from knowing I no longer have to carry everything alone. Lord, surrender does not come easily. My heart has learned to fight for survival, to plan, to protect, to hold on tight. I have built my life around the illusion of control, thinking that if I could just manage enough, I could keep chaos at bay. Yet you patiently remind me that control is not peace, it is exhaustion. Peace begins when I stop wrestling and let you lead. You never force surrender. You invite it. You whisper, "Let go," not to take something from me, but to make room for something greater. Every time I release my fear, you replace it with calm. Every time I loosen my hold, you strengthen my faith. God, I have noticed that surrender is not a single act, it is a rhythm. It happens again and again, in the small moments and the great ones. Each morning, I surrender my plans. Each night, I surrender my worries. Each time I choose forgiveness. I surrender bitterness. Each time I choose patience, I surrender pride. It is in these daily choices that my heart learns to live in harmony with yours. Surrender is not a one-time offering, it is a daily posture, a way of breathing that keeps my soul aligned with your will. Father, sometimes I confuse surrender with silence, thinking it means I should stop praying, stop asking, stop desiring. But surrender is not apathy, it is alignment. It is not the end of prayer. It is the deepest form of it. When I surrender, I do not stop hoping, I simply trust you with the outcome. I can still dream, still work, still believe, but without the weight of fear pressing against my chest. Surrender does not mean I stop caring. It means I care without clinging. It is a love that lets go, knowing that what is meant to be will always find its way under your guidance. Lord, there are days when surrender feels like standing in the dark with open hands. I cannot see what is coming, and I do not know what will remain, yet even there, you are light. You meet me not with explanations, but with presence. You remind me that faith was never about knowing every step ahead, it was about walking with the one who does. You never demanded perfection. You only asked for trust. When I finally stop striving, when I let the quiet settle in, I can hear your voice more clearly. It is never harsh. It is never distant. It simply says, "Be still. I am here, God. I have learned that surrender often comes through tears. Letting go of what I thought I needed is not easy. Sometimes I cling to things that were never meant to stay, because I fear the emptiness that follows. But you fill that emptiness with peace. You take what I release and turn it into something I could not have imagined. You remind me that surrender and loss are not the same. Loss leaves a wound. Surrender leaves space for healing. The pain of letting go is temporary, but the freedom that follows is eternal. Father, teach me to surrender not only when I am weary, but also when I am strong. It is easy to yield when I have no choice. But true surrender happens when I choose to yield, even when I could fight. It is when I give you authority over my successes, my ambitions, my relationships, and even my identity. Nothing I possess is truly mine. It all belongs to you. The more I recognize this truth, the less afraid I become. Ownership creates anxiety, but stewardship creates peace. I am not the keeper of my destiny. I am the vessel of your design. Lord, when I surrender, I find that my heart becomes lighter. The burdens I carried, fear, guilt, control, no longer define me. In their place comes a stillness I cannot describe, a sense that I am finally flowing with the current instead of against it. Life still brings waves, but I no longer panic when they rise. I trust that you are both the shore that grounds me and the tide that carries me. Surrender is not about escaping the storm, it is about finding safety within it. When I stop fighting the wind, I begin to hear its song, God. I think of how nature itself teaches surrender. The tree does not resist the wind. It bends and survives. The river does not fight gravity. It flows and reaches the sea. The seasons do not cling to their moments. They release one into another, each in perfect timing. Creation thrives because it trusts your rhythm. Help me to live the same way, to yield, to flow, to trust that what you remove, you replace, and what you ask me to release, you redeem. The same hand that takes also gives, and every surrender makes room for new grace. Father, as morning light spreads across the sky, I breathe deeply and let the truth settle in my heart. Surrender is not the end of control, it is the beginning of peace. I no longer need to understand everything to walk forward. I no longer need to hold everything to feel secure. My life, my plans, my dreams, they are safest not in my hands, but in yours. So I lift them all to you, quietly, fully, joyfully, and in that release, I find my freedom again, the kind of freedom that comes only when love is stronger than fear, and when trust becomes the sweetest form of rest. Father, after surrender has quieted my soul, I begin to notice the gentle work of healing taking place within me. It is not loud or sudden, it moves softly, like dawn breaking after a long night. Healing does not rush. It unfolds in its own sacred rhythm. You mend what I once tried to hide, touching the tender places with compassion instead of judgment. I used to think healing meant forgetting pain, but now I understand that it means transforming it. You do not erase my scars, Lord. You turn them into stories of grace. The wounds I feared would define me are slowly becoming windows through which your light shines the brightest. God, I am learning that healing begins when I stop pretending I am whole. For too long, I carried the mask of strength while quietly unraveling inside. But you see beyond pretense. You are not repelled by my brokenness. You are drawn to it. You meet me there not to scold, but to soothe. You remind me that broken things are not useless in your hands. In fact, it is the cracks that allow your mercy to seep in. Healing does not begin in perfection. It begins in honesty. When I bring you my truth raw, trembling, incomplete, you begin the sacred work of making it new. Lord, healing is not always a painless process. Sometimes it feels like re-breaking what healed wrong. Sometimes you lead me back to memories I buried deep, not to torment me, but to free me. The pain resurfaces not as punishment, but as invitation, a chance to see it through your eyes. In the light of your love, even the darkest memories lose their power to control me. You do not change the past, but you change its hold on me. Where shame once whispered that I was unworthy, grace now speaks that I am beloved. Where fear once said never again, faith now says begin again. Father, I have realized that healing is not only about me, it ripples outward. When you mend my heart, you also soften it toward others. I become slower to judge, quicker to forgive, and more patient with pain I do not understand. Healing expands my compassion. It teaches me that every person I meet is carrying invisible wounds, and that sometimes the kindest thing I can offer is understanding. You call me to be not just a receiver of healing, but a carrier of it, to bring comfort where I once found only bitterness, to speak peace into places where I once spread pain. The healed heart does not hoard grace. It gives it freely. God, I thank you that your healing reaches deeper than emotion. It touches my mind, where anxiety once ruled. It steadies my thoughts with truth. It touches my body, easing the tension I did not know I carried. It touches my spirit, reviving the parts of me that had gone numb from disappointment. You do not heal one part and leave the rest untouched. You restore the whole. Healing is not only recovery, it is renewal. It is the miracle of becoming fully alive again, able to feel, to love, to hope, without fear of breaking. Lord, sometimes I resist healing because I fear what comes after. Pain becomes familiar, and in its strange way, it feels safe. But you remind me that healing is not a betrayal of what I lost, it is a continuation of what you promised. I do not dishonor my past by letting go of it. I honor it by learning from it. Healing is not forgetting, it is remembering differently. It is no longer saying, "Why did this happen to me?" but rather, "What has this taught me?" Through healing, I find meaning, and through meaning, I find peace. Father, help me to accept that healing does not always look like I expect. Sometimes it means reconciliation, and sometimes it means release. Sometimes it restores what was broken, and sometimes it removes what cannot be repaired. But in every form, it brings freedom. Healing is not about getting back what I lost, it is about discovering who I am becoming through it. You are not trying to return me to who I was before the pain. You are leading me toward someone new, someone deeper, wiser, more compassionate. Healing is not a return, it is a resurrection. God, I am beginning to see that the heart that has been healed by you beats differently. It beats slower, more gently, with gratitude for each moment. It no longer rushes to prove or to please. It has learned that worth is not earned through perfection, but bestowed through love. Healing teaches me to live in rhythm, with grace, to breathe forgiveness, to exhale fear, to inhale faith. Even when scars remain, they are no longer reminders of weakness, but of survival, of redemption, of your unending mercy. What once hurt now hums with quiet strength. Lord, let this healing not end with comfort, but continue into courage. Heal me so completely that I am no longer defined by pain, but by purpose. Let the memory of what I endured become the foundation of what I offer others. Let my healed heart become a shelter for those still hurting. A reminder that brokenness is not the end of the story. Use me, not because I am flawless, because I have been forgiven and restored. Let my life testify that no wound is beyond your reach, and no soul too fractured for your touch. Father, as the morning stretches further into light, I feel this truth settle deep within me. Healing is not a single moment. It is a journey of continual surrender and grace. Every sunrise is proof that renewal is possible. Every heartbeat evidence that you are still at work. I am not who I was, and I am not yet who I will be, but I am being healed. Slowly, wholly, beautifully. My heart, once fragile and guarded, now beats freely again, not because it has never been broken, because it has been held by the one who makes all things new. Father, as healing begins to flow through my heart like gentle light through a once shuttered room, I feel something new awakening inside me, a deeper compassion. It comes quietly, yet it changes everything. Where pain once made me guarded, compassion now makes me tender. Where hurt once hardened me, grace now softens me. Healing has taught me to see the world not through judgment, but through understanding. The heart that has been restored by you learns to look at others differently, to see beyond behavior into the H that often hides beneath it. Compassion, I am beginning to realize, is not pity, it is the reflection of your love in human form. Lord, compassion begins where self-centeredness ends. It is born when I stop asking, why are they like this? And start asking, how can I love them better? It grows in the soil of empathy, watered by the memory of my own pain. When I remember how gently you met me in my brokenness, I can no longer stand in condemnation of others. You never looked at my weakness with scorn, but with mercy. You saw not what I had done, but what I could become. That is the essence of compassion, to see with the eyes of grace, to look at a wounded soul and whisper through my actions, you are still worthy of love. God, I admit that compassion does not always come easily. It costs something. It asks me to lay down pride, to step into the discomfort of another as suffering, to listen when it would be easier to turn away. It is easier to protect myself with distance than to risk being moved. Yet you call me closer to sit beside the hurting, to bear the weight of another as sorrow, to be present even when I have no answers. Compassion is not about fixing. It is about staying. It is the courage to remain in the presence of pain, without trying to control it. When I show compassion, I am not the healer, I am simply the reminder that no one is alone. Father, you have shown me that compassion does not only belong to great moments, it lives in the ordinary. It is in the smile I offer a stranger, the patience I extend in a moment of irritation, the forgiveness I choose when anger feels easier. Compassion does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. It is the quiet grace of choosing kindness when no one sees. You work through such moments the small mercies that ripple far beyond what I can measure. Compassion is the unseen kingdom of love spreading through simple acts of goodness. Lord, let my compassion not be selective. It is easy to love those who are kind to me, to show empathy toward those whose pain I understand. But true compassion stretches further, it reaches toward those who misunderstand me, those who oppose me, those who are difficult to love. You remind me that the measure of my compassion is not how I treat those who comfort me, but how I treat those who challenge me. To love those who love me is human. To love those who hurt me is divine. When I extend mercy in those moments, I become a mirror of your heart, the heart that loved, even as it was wounded. God, teach me to listen with compassion. So often I rush to speak, to advise, to solve, but compassion listens before it acts. It hears the pain behind the words, the fear behind the anger, the longing behind the silence. You are the perfect listener. Lord, you hear not only what I say, but what I cannot express. Help me to listen like that, to create spaces where others can be heard without judgment. Sometimes, the greatest gift I can offer is not wisdom, but presence. Compassion begins not with answers, but with attention. Father, let compassion also extend inward. I cannot offer what I have not received. When I am harsh with myself, my love for others becomes conditional. But when I treat my own soul with gentleness, recognizing that I, too, am a work in progress, I create room for mercy to flow through me. Compassion toward myself is not indulgence, it is humility. It acknowledges that I need the same grace I hope to give. When I stop demanding perfection from myself, I stop demanding it from others. In that humility, compassion grows unhindered. Lord, compassion is not weakness. It is strength wrapped in tenderness. The world often confuses kindness for fragility, but I know it takes more courage to be gentle in a cruel world than to be cruel in return. Every act of compassion is an act of resistance against despair. When I choose understanding over indifference, I am pushing back against the darkness. You did not change the world through domination, but through love, and that love continues every time one heart chooses compassion over condemnation. God, there are moments when compassion feels too heavy, when the suffering of others feels overwhelming. In those times, remind me that I am not called to carry the whole world, only to reflect your heart in the part of it that I touch. I do not need to heal every wound. I only need to keep my heart open. Compassion is not about quantity, it is about authenticity. Even a single gesture of kindness, offered in sincerity, carries the fragrance of heaven. I may never see the outcome, but you do, and that is enough. Father, as this new morning rises, I pray that compassion becomes my natural language. Let my eyes see need without judgment, My hands move without hesitation, and my heart love without limit. Let compassion guide my choices, shape my words, and define my presence. When others encounter me, let them feel seen, valued, and safe, not because I am perfect, but because your love has taught me to look beyond imperfection. The healed heart always becomes a vessel of healing for others. And as I walk through this day, I want every step, every thought, and every breath to carry that quiet truth. That compassion is not just something I show, it is who I am becoming in you. Father, as compassion continues to bloom within me, it leads me naturally toward the next tender lesson, learning the lightness that comes through forgiveness. Compassion sees the wound. Forgiveness releases the weight. I realize now that these two are not separate paths, but parts of the same road toward freedom. For how can I claim to understand love if I still hold chains around another's name in my heart? You have healed me, taught me mercy, and softened my gaze toward others. Now, you call me to do something far more difficult, to release the debts that pain once convinced me to keep. Lord, forgiveness is not instinctive. It does not come as quickly as anger or as easily as silence. It demands courage, a courage deeper than retaliation, humbler than pride. Forgiveness is not pretending that the wrong never happened. It is deciding that it no longer defines me. It is choosing freedom over bitterness, peace over power, grace over justice. Every time I forgive, I am not excusing what was done. I am refusing to let it poison me any longer. The past cannot change, but my heart can. When I forgive, I stop reliving the pain and start rebuilding the peace that was stolen. God, I confess that sometimes I struggle to forgive, especially when the wound still feels fresh. There are moments when the memory returns like an echo, and my heart tightens again. Yet even in those moments, you whisper gently that forgiveness is not a feeling, it is a decision renewed daily. It is not about forgetting. It is about choosing love even when I remember. Forgiveness is a process, not a single act. It begins with the smallest prayer. Help me let go. And somehow, through time and grace, you take that whisper and turn it into release. Father, I have learned that unforgiveness is a prison with invisible bars. It traps me in a story that no longer needs to define me. When I hold on to resentment, I chain myself to the moment of pain, reliving it long after the event has passed. But when I choose to forgive, I walk free. The weight lifts, the air clears, and I can finally breathe again. You do not ask me to forgive because it is easy. You ask me to forgive because it is healing. It is not for their sake alone, it is for mine. Forgiveness is the key that unlocks my own heart. Lord, there is a sacred mystery in forgiveness. It transforms pain into wisdom. What once broke me now becomes the soil where empathy grows. The hurt that once made me bitter now makes me more compassionate. You do not waste anything, not even wounds. Every scar that I offer to you becomes a story of redemption. I am beginning to see that forgiveness is not a weakness, it is divine strength flowing through human frailty. It is your heart beating within mine. You forgave not because it was deserved, but because love demanded it. And now you call me to do the same. God, help me to forgive myself as well. I often find it easier to offer mercy to others than to release my own shame. But I cannot live in full grace while still condemning myself. You have already forgiven me. My refusal to accept it only keeps me trapped in guilt you have already erased. Teach me to let your forgiveness reach every hidden corner of my being, to accept that I am not defined by my failures, but refined by your mercy. When I forgive myself, I no longer live from regret, but from gratitude. No longer from fear, but from purpose. Father, remind me that forgiveness does not always lead to reconciliation, but it always leads to peace. Some people may never apologize. Some wounds may never be acknowledged, yet the choice to forgive remains mine. Forgiveness is not about restoring what was lost, but about releasing what never belonged to me, the need for revenge, the hunger for explanation, the illusion of control. When I forgive, I hand over justice to you, trusting that you see the whole story, that you know every heart involved, that you bring truth in ways I never could. Lord, help me also to forgive the small things that quietly pile up, the careless words, the broken promises, the disappointments that sting. It is easy to let small resentments gather unnoticed until they form walls around my heart. Teach me to forgive quickly, to let grace flow through me as naturally as breath. The more I practice forgiveness in the small moments, the freer I become in the great ones. Let no grudge linger long enough to darken the light within me. I do not want to carry the shadow of offense into the dawn of each new day. God, forgiveness is not about erasing pain, but transforming it into purpose. When I forgive, I become an instrument of peace in a world addicted to division. I stop the cycle of hurt by refusing to pass it on. I can no longer control what others do, but I can control what I release into the world: grace or resentment, mercy or bitterness. I choose grace. I choose love. I choose the light that forgiveness brings. For that light does not only heal the heart, it heals humanity. One act of forgiveness becomes a seed of hope, a spark of redemption that multiplies far beyond what I can see. Father, as morning sunlight filters through the air, I feel the quiet clarity of forgiveness washing over me. It does not roar or announce itself. It simply settles, steady and calm. I realize that forgiveness is not a gift I give once, it is a way of living. To forgive is to keep my soul aligned with yours, to stay in step with the rhythm of grace that flows from heaven to earth. When I forgive, I join you in the divine work of restoration. And so I lift this day to you, free and unburdened, carrying the lightness of a heart that has learned to release, to heal, and to love once more. Father, as forgiveness loosens the last remnants of heaviness from my soul, I begin to feel something awakening deep within, a quiet but steady sense of direction. It is as if all the healing, all the surrender, all the trust you have built within me were leading to this moment. The realization that my life has meaning beyond my own understanding. The peace that comes after forgiveness does not call me to rest idly. It calls me to rise. There is purpose woven through every thread of my being, and I sense that you are inviting me to walk fully into it. Purpose is not a distant destination. It is a daily conversation with you. Lord, I used to think purpose was about achievement, something to chase, something to prove. But now I see that purpose is not about doing more. It is about becoming more. It is the alignment of my spirit with yours, the steady rhythm of obedience and trust. Purpose is not found in the grand moments, but in the faithful ones, in the quiet decisions that shape the heart, in the unseen acts of love that echo in eternity. Every word I speak, every gesture of kindness, every choice rooted in compassion becomes a part of something divine. Purpose is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers in the ordinary. God, show me that my purpose is not limited by my past. What once felt like failure has become foundation. What once was pain has become preparation. Nothing is wasted in your design. The detours I resented were directions in disguise, leading me toward the person I was meant to become. Every moment of brokenness you redeemed. Every tear you turned into understanding. Every waiting season you transformed into wisdom. I see now that my purpose is not hindered by what I have lost. It is strengthened by what I have learned. You are not looking for perfection, but for willingness. Father, help me to walk in purpose with humility. Purpose without humility becomes pride, and pride turns calling into competition. Teach me that the work you have given me is not about being noticed, but about being faithful. You do not ask me to shine brighter than others. You ask me to reflect your light where I stand. The world measures success in recognition, but you measure it in obedience. When I align my steps with your will, even the smallest act becomes sacred. The path may not always be clear, but I do not need to see the whole road to walk in faith. Lord, sometimes purpose feels overwhelming. The thought of carrying out divine work with human hands humbles and terrifies me. Yet you remind me that I was never meant to walk alone. You go before me. You walk beside me. You dwell within me. The strength to fulfill my purpose does not come from ambition, but from abiding. The same power that spoke creation into being lives within me through your Spirit, guiding each step with quiet assurance. I do not have to manufacture purpose. I simply have to move in the direction of love. God, let me never confuse calling with comfort. Purpose often leads through discomfort because growth requires stretching. There will be days when I doubt, when I stumble, when the path feels too narrow, but those are the very moments where dependence on you becomes deepest. Purpose is not about ease. It is about endurance. It is continuing to love when it would be simpler to withdraw, to forgive when resentment tempts me, to show kindness when indifference feels safer. Every act of perseverance plants seeds that will bloom in your perfect time. Father, remind me that my purpose is not just for me, it is connected to others. The grace you pour into my life is meant to overflow. My words can bring comfort. My actions can bring healing. My presence can remind someone that they are seen. Purpose is rarely self-contained. It is a bridge that carries your love into the lives of those I encounter. Let me be sensitive to the quiet nudges of your Spirit, to the stranger who needs a smile, the friend who needs a listening ear, the weary soul who needs hope. My purpose is not measured by how much I accomplish, but by how much love I give. Lord, there are days when purpose feels hidden, when routine dulls my sense of meaning. Yet even in those moments, you are working behind the scenes. Purpose is not lost in repetition, it is refined there. The same way the sunrise repeats each morning, yet never loses its wonder. My faithfulness in small things brings beauty to the world in ways unseen. You have shown me that purpose does not require constant revelation. It requires constant faith. When I cannot see where you are leading, I will still trust the one who leads. God, let me walk in purpose with joy, not the fleeting joy that depends on success, but the quiet joy that flows from knowing I am part of something eternal. There is peace in realizing that I do not have to strive endlessly to make my life meaningful. It already is, because you are within it. You have written my story with intention. Each chapter, whether filled with laughter or tears, carries the same divine signature. I walk not to earn your favor, but to express it. My purpose is not to prove my worth, it is to reveal your love. Father, as morning stretches into day, I take my first steps into whatever you have prepared. The world around me hums with movement and noise, yet within me, there is a still clarity. I am walking with you. Purpose is not a place I am trying to reach. It is the presence I carry as I move, whether I am speaking or silent, serving or resting. I can live meaningfully when I live mindfully of you. Each breath, each word, each step is sacred when guided by divine purpose. So here I am, Lord, not striving, not fearing, but walking, steady and grateful, on the path you have set before me. Father, as I continue to walk in the light of purpose you have placed within me, I feel how deeply this journey has changed the way I see everything. Life no longer feels random or disconnected. Every breath, every encounter, every silence now carries meaning. I no longer ask, what should I do to matter? But rather, how can I serve in what you have already given? The closer I walk with you, the clearer it becomes that purpose is not an achievement, but a relationship it lives and breathes. Through daily communion with you, my steps no longer chase certainty. They follow trust. Lord, I realize now that walking in divine purpose is not a straight path. It is a sacred dance between surrender and action. Some days you call me to move boldly, and other days you ask me to wait quietly. Both are obedience. The world teaches me to rush toward results, but you teach me to walk in rhythm with grace. The pace of divine purpose is not hurried, it is holy. I do not need to know where every road leads, because I know who walks beside me. When I stop forcing outcomes, I begin to see miracles unfold naturally. Each day becomes a conversation, a question whispered, and an answer revealed in peace. God, you remind me that purpose is not measured by visibility. It is not about how many see what I do, but about how purely I do it for you. The smallest act, when done in love, echoes through eternity. When I encourage a weary soul, when I forgive quietly, when I give without expecting return, those moments may never be noticed by the world, but they are noticed by you. Walking in divine purpose means learning to find joy in the unseen, to find meaning in the mundane, and to know that obedience is its own reward. Father, there are days when I lose sight of direction, when confusion creeps in, and I wonder if I have taken a wrong turn. But even in those moments, you whisper that no step taken in faith is wasted. Purpose is not a destination that can be missed, it is a presence that cannot be lost. Even detours are used by your hand to shape my heart, to deepen my humility, to strengthen my trust. What I call delay is often divine preparation. What I call failure is sometimes just formation. The road of purpose is not about getting everything right. It is about remaining aligned with even when I stumble. Lord, walking in purpose also means carrying peace, not pressure. You never called me to prove myself. You called me to express your love. The burden I sometimes feel comes not from you, but from the expectations I place on myself. You are not impressed by my accomplishments. You are moved by my availability. When I offer my time, my talents, my heart without resistance, you multiply them beyond what I could ever imagine. Divine purpose does not require perfection. It requires presence. It is not about doing everything, but about doing the right thing in the right spirit, faithfully, humbly, joyfully. God, remind me that my purpose will not always look grand. Sometimes it looks like showing up, listening, or simply holding space for someone else's pain. Sometimes it looks like choosing patience when I want to react, or gentleness when I want to argue. Walking in divine purpose is not about what I achieve for you. It is about I allow you to do through me. When I step aside and let your spirit guide my words, I find that grace always knows where to go. My life becomes less about striving to be significant and more about reflecting your significance. Father, I see now that every season carries purpose, even the quiet ones. When nothing seems to happen, you are still working beneath the surface. The waiting seasons grow my roots, the harvest seasons stretch my faith, and the wilderness seasons refine my heart. Purpose is not suspended in silence, it matures there. Every sunrise brings new opportunities to live intentionally, to choose love over apathy, to serve rather than seek recognition. Even when I cannot feel it, purpose is unfolding with every breath, because you are the author of my story. Lord, teach me to walk in purpose with courage. It is easy to shrink back when I doubt my worth, but you remind me that my value was never tied to my performance. It was declared by your love. Purpose requires courage, not because it is about greatness, because it is about faithfulness. It is daring to keep believing when outcomes are uncertain, to keep loving when it costs something, to keep standing when the world sits in apathy. The path of purpose is not always easy, but it is always worth it, because it draws me closer to you. God, help me to live with purpose that flows from compassion. Let my steps bring healing, not harm. Let my words build, not break. Let my presence remind others that they are not forgotten. I want my purpose to be a reflection of your heart, steady, kind, and full of hope. Every soul I encounter is sacred ground. Every conversation an opportunity to plant a seed of grace. Walking in divine purpose means seeing people not as interruptions, but as invitations to love, to serve, to give. You call me not to do extraordinary things, but to do ordinary things with extraordinary love. Father, as dawn stretches across the horizon and the first light touches the earth, I feel the gentle certainty that I am where I am meant to be. My steps may not be perfect, but they are guided. My heart may still tremble, but beats with trust. Walking in divine purpose is not about having all the answers. It is about walking with the answer himself. Each morning, you renew this invitation to live with meaning, to move with love, to breathe with intention. And so I rise again, ready to walk one step at a time, one heartbeat at a time, trusting every moment lived with you is a moment lived in purpose. Lord, as I continue along this sacred path of purpose, I feel the quiet unfolding of something deeper, a peace that does not depend on what I accomplish, but on who I become in you. The journey no longer feels like a pursuit of destiny. It feels like a rhythm of companionship. You are not just showing me where to go. You are shaping who I am as I walk. Each step is less about arrival and more about awareness, less about striving and more about surrendering into your guidance. I no longer ask for the whole map, I ask only for enough light to take the next step faithfully. Father, purpose now feels less like a grand mission and more like a daily expression of love. It is found not in the noise of achievement, but in the quiet of alignment. When I move in your will, even the smallest actions carry eternal weight. When I speak truth gently, when I offer kindness freely, when I forgive without expectation, these moments become threads in the tapestry of your greater design. The world may never notice them, but you do. You see the quiet faithfulness that keeps me grounded, the silent prayers that shape my soul, the hidden acts that mirror your heart. That is where true purpose lives. God, there are days when I still feel uncertain. The path sometimes blurs, and I wonder if I am truly fulfilling what you have planned. Yet in those moments, you remind me that walking in purpose is not about clarity. It is about consistency. It is choosing to trust even when the horizon is hazy. Faith grows stronger when sight grows dim. I do not need to understand every reason when I am held by the one who authors them. My task is not to predict, it is to follow. The direction of divine purpose is often revealed only through obedience. One step, one moment, one whisper at a time. Lord, teach me to walk in purpose with grace. I do not want to carry the weight of comparison, for every life moves to its own divine rhythm. What you call me to do may look different from what you call another, and that difference is not competition, it is harmony. We are many notes in the same symphony of grace. Help me celebrate others who are walking their own paths instead of measuring mine against theirs. When I rejoice in another's blessing, my spirit expands. When I honor the purpose of others, I honor yours in me. Father, there is freedom in realizing that purpose is not limited by place or position. I can walk in divine purpose, whether I am speaking to thousands or comforting one. Purpose is not about scale, it is about spirit. It is not defined by recognition, but by intention. When I sweep a floor with gratitude, I glorify you as much as when I sing a song of praise, when I extend love in ordinary moments. I am living the extraordinary. Your purpose weaves through all things: work and rest, laughter and pain, silence and speech. Every breath lived in awareness of you becomes holy. God, sometimes I forget that purpose also includes rest. I have equated purpose with progress, thinking movement always means meaning. But you remind me that rest is not inactivity, it is intimacy. When I stop and simply sit in your presence, I am still walking in purpose because I am dwelling in you. Purpose is not always about what I do for you. It is often about what I allow you to do in me. The pauses you lead me into are not detours, they are sacred spaces where my spirit regains strength, where my soul learns again that being loved is more important than being busy. Lord, as I walk in this purpose, teach me to carry lightness in my heart. I do not need to drag yesterday's burdens into today's calling. You have already forgiven what is behind me. You are already ahead of what awaits me. I am free to live in the present moment with open hands and open eyes. Purpose is not found by holding tightly, it is found by letting go. When I stop clenching control, I find that grace has room to flow. When I stop worrying about outcomes, I find that peace becomes my companion. My steps feel lighter when my heart is surrendered. Father, let me live my purpose with joy that is quiet yet unshakable. There will be challenges, misunderstandings, and moments of fatigue, but joy is the current that runs beneath them all. It is not the absence of difficulty, but the awareness of your presence through it. Purpose does not guarantee comfort. It guarantees connection with you, with others, with the sacred meaning of existence itself. Joy flows naturally when I remember that I am part of something eternal, that every moment of faithfulness echoes in heaven, that every act of love ripples far beyond what I can see. God, I pray that as I walk in divine purpose, my life becomes less about outcomes and more about overflow. Let the peace you have planted in me spill into the lives around me. Let the hope you have nurtured in my heart ignite faith in those who have forgotten how to believe. Let the compassion you have taught me bring warmth to the cold corners of this world. If my purpose is to be anything, let it be a vessel open, humble, and available for your love to move through. My life does not need to be loud to be meaningful. It only needs to reflect you clearly. Father, as this morning brightens into day, I feel gratitude rise within me like the sunlight stretching across the horizon. The path before me is not flawless, but it is holy because you are in it. Every sunrise reminds me that purpose is renewed daily. It is not something I completed yesterday or will begin tomorrow. It is something I live now, moment by moment, step by step, and so I walk again slowly, gratefully, purposefully carrying peace within, light around, and love before me. For to walk in divine purpose is simply to walk with you. Heart aligned, spirit open, trusting that wherever I go, grace has already gone before. Father, as this journey through the morning of my soul draws near its quiet horizon, I feel an overwhelming sense of peace, a peace not born of resolution, but of revelation. Every word I have prayed, every tear I have released, every silence I have sat in with you has led me here, to this still place where the heart rests not in answers, but in presence. From the trembling of early pain to the calm assurance of purpose, you have walked with me in every step, not as a distant God to be reached, but as a living breath within me. I began this journey seeking light, and now I realize the light was never lost. It had been waiting all along, deep within the chambers of faith. Lord, this prayer has not been a path of perfection, but a pilgrimage of becoming. I have wandered, I have doubted, I have broken, and still you have loved me through every turn. In the beginning, I prayed to be rescued. Now I pray to be refined. I asked for clarity, but you gave me courage. I begged for change, but you taught me to trust. Every unanswered prayer turned out to be a doorway to something deeper understanding. Surrender. Wisdom. I see now that you were never silent. You were shaping me through the stillness. My heart, once restless for miracles, has become a sanctuary that recognizes them in everything. God, I thank you for the lessons etched into every chapter of this journey. Through pain, you taught me compassion. Through waiting, you taught me patience. Through forgiveness, you taught me freedom. Through purpose, you taught me presence. I am not who I was when I began this prayer. There is less fear and more faith, less striving and more surrender, less doubt and more wonder. You have turned my heart from a battlefield into a garden, where grace grows quietly and endlessly. Every scar now feels like sacred ground, proof that your love can redeem anything it touches. Father, as I breathe in this new morning, I sense how near you are, not above me, not far ahead, but here in the rhythm of my pulse, in the air that fills my lungs, in the calm that whispers beyond words. The world outside still carries its noise, its urgency, its unanswered questions. Yet I am not shaken. The storms may return, the night may fall again, but the peace you have planted will remain. I no longer seek a life free from trials. I seek a heart that cannot be moved by them. You have shown me that faith is not a shield that prevents pain and is the fire that purifies through it. Lord, let my life from this moment forward become a living prayer. Let every step be an act of worship, every breath a hymn of gratitude, every word a reflection of grace. May I not only speak of your goodness, but embody it in patience when I am wronged, in mercy when I am tested, in generosity when I am weary. Teach me to love in ways that leave traces of heaven wherever I go. Let my days be marked not by what I achieve, but by how faithfully I remain open to your presence. When I walk in kindness, when I forgive quickly, when I listen deeply, I am walking with you, God. I know this journey of faith will never truly end. Each sunrise is another beginning. Each evening another invitation to rest in your care. The prayers I have spoken will continue to live within me, evolving as I grow, echoing softly through the corridors of time. There will be moments when my faith feels fragile again, but now I know how to return to stillness, to gratitude, to trust. You are not a destination I must find. You are the constant path beneath my feet. The more I walk with you, the more I realize that heaven is not far away. It begins in every heart that chooses love over fear. Father, as light begins to touch the edge of the sky, I feel gratitude blooming quietly within me for the mornings that broke me open, for the nights that taught me to listen, for every breath that carried me closer to you. I have come to understand that faith is not about holding on tightly, but about resting deeply. It is not about escaping life, but embracing it with eyes that see your fingerprints in every detail. The wind that moves through the trees, the laughter that fills a room, the tears that soften pride, all of them are reminders that you are still speaking, still moving, still renewing. Lord, to everyone who has walked through this journey of prayer with me, I offer my deepest gratitude. You have listened, reflected, and grown alongside these words, and in doing so, you have shared in something sacred. Prayer is never meant to be hoarded. It is meant to be multiplied. Each heart that opens becomes a spark of light that touches another. As you continue to walk through your own mornings, some bright, some clouded, remember that faith is not about perfection, but about presence. You are never behind, never too late, never beyond redemption. The same God who met me here waits for you too, with open hands and endless grace. Father, may every listener who has reached this moment carry forward a renewed sense of peace and strength. Let these prayers linger not as echoes, but as living reminders that we are never walking alone. Let their mornings begin not with fear, but with gratitude, not with worry, but with wonder. The world needs hearts that shine quietly with faith, voices that speak softly with kindness, and souls that believe again in goodness. May this be our offering, simple, steady, sincere, and as the final words of this prayer fade, I feel the air shift around me, the gentle brush of a morning breeze moving through an open window, the soft light spilling across the floor, the calm hum of a world being renewed. This is where prayer lives on, not in endings, but in continuations. The dawn rises again, and with it, a promise that faith will meet us every morning, just as surely as the sun will rise. Thank you for walking through this journey with me. If this prayer has touched your heart, share your reflections, your own prayers, and your moments of faith below. Together, we can keep this light alive, one heart, one word, one morning at a time. Subscribe, share, and continue to walk in faith each day. For the dawn always comes, and in its gentle glow, we are reminded that renewal never ends, only begins again. Like the first breath of sunlight touching the world,